Do you want to be a part of the Coco community? Sure, we all do. So join this free weekly live talk show to find out how easy it is to watch at home and learn about your color computer. At the CoCoNation, more than 9 million men and women have participated in the community without setting foot outside their homes. And now at home in your spare time, you can see what's happening, or even join the discussion. Choose from any one of these segments: panel intros, project updates, acquisitions, Coco Thoughts, featured interviews and events, the Game On Challenge, news, Ron's Garage, Coco commercials, show coverage, panel goodbyes, or you can join one of our extra shows. You can choose from the Game On Challenge Live or Coco Tech. Join the CoCoNation right now.
Click the link for the free information TJB Chris spoke about. Then decide if you want to watch the CoCoNation Live Show, the world's leading live weekly talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer, its siblings, cousins, and red-headed stepchildren. Visit thecoconation.com. There is no obligation and no salesman will visit you. Visit thecoconation.com.
The CoCoNation show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCoNation show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCoNation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCoNation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CoCoNation Show, episode 353. How y'all doing?
How you doing?
We're here.
All right, let's see who we got with us today. In the upper left-hand corner, we've got Mark O. And then next we got Rick Euland.
I took the early warning and took my mic off mute. Thank you.
Good. And yours truly, who the heck is that? Can't read the name over there. All right, Henry Gernhardt.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the CoCoNation. My name's Henry, and today we're going to have a good time talking about things that jump in the night or in the daytime.
Gotta see David beat that.
As long as they don't have 8 legs. All right, next row, we've got Terry Steege.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show.
And Dale Curtis Boyle.
Yes, welcome to the show, everyone.
Hey, Ron Delvo.
Welcome to the show, and don't get a cold like I have. It's not good.
And speaking of cold, Ken Waters.
Hello, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, gee.
That's more like a cold shoulder, I think.
Right.
All right, then we got Brian Weisler.
Hello, welcome to the show.
And Alan Murphy.
Howdy, howdy, everyone.
And Nick Marenti's not on the last row this time.
No. G'day, everyone.
And Grant Leedy.
Hey, guys.
And David Ladd.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you've joined us today, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Oh, we got competition.
That was only 10.5 on the meter.
All right, and last but not least, we got Jason, CocoMan.biz.
And how do I follow that up? But again, it's Saturday, unless you're in Australia, then it's Sunday. But it's time to follow your fun compass towards the CoCoNation. And just remember, you can't spell fun compass without letters.
Okay. And in the chat, we got, first up, we got Mikey. And the break key, Mike Miller. Tom Eric Gunderson, Mark Siegel, Carrie Shug, and Micro Hobbyist. And S Penny.
And Jim Rye, too.
Is he?
Yep.
Oh, there
Right
he
at the
is. That's because he's green on blue and I can't see it. It vanishes on me. Okay, let's see. First up today, we have Brian. What you got to show us today?
Nothing. I just wanted to make it sound like I did. No, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case,
Moving on.
The end of the show.
Well,
Thanks for
it
watching.
says to have a sense of humor, and I guess you got one.
Oh, yeah. I can laugh at myself. Anyway, so yeah, we've been talking about the deluxe here a lot lately. I just had take a little break from that and got a few other things I wanted to kind of share that I've gotten over the past couple months here. Switch cameras, and let's see here. There we are. Is that going to focus? We were trying something new there. Boy, that's not focusing at all, is it, guys?
no.
That's probably because of the color that it is. I may have to go back to that wood grain. We were talking about this before the show.
Oh, there it goes.
There
it goes.
You guys know what this is? I know some of you will.
It's a box?
Project box.
It's a box
With lights.
With a little knobby on
It's
the
a
front here.
1960s.
That's a recent thing.
Remote enticer.
You've been in contact with Paul Fiscarelli, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Yep. So there we go. This will probably give it a little more, give it away there a little bit.
Joystick.
So this is a
Fly button.
Yeah,
Auto
this
fly
is a-
button.
This is Paul Fiscarelli's the Coco joystick to USB box that he makes. And this
USB on the other side.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the switch here. This turns. This is for the rapid fire, so you turn it on, and then you can just smash down on the button, and it'll sit there and do the rapid fire for you, and you can increase the speed of the rapid fire.
The rate.
The rate. There you go. Thank you. This shows. I think this. I can't remember I'm trying to remember what this switch here does. That switches. That switches
like a
between the
light.
left and right. I think it's left and right joystick.
Left and right.
Oh, for the
Yep.
auto fire.
Yep.
Left or right.
So I ordered one of these, but I've been waiting, and I know he has a wait list for these, but I had ordered something else, and he was getting ready to make more of these, and he had one of these rotary switches left, so he went ahead and threw this one together to complete my order, and I believe he's working on some more of these. I don't want to promise for him, but I think he's trying to get.
Are
some
you
more of
gonna
these done.
tie Buck Owens now?
Oh yeah.
Could help. But the reason I bought this is because I do want to put together. I usually do the real hardware, but I do want to build a MAME box, and I wanted to kind of have a whole package together. And so I was going to include this with it. Plus, I wanted to be able to have one. I'll be quite honest. I wanted to have one at work. So on my breaks or my lunch hour, if I want to take a little break, I can open up BCC and play a little Coco
on the
at work
breaks,
there, so,
right?
on break, yes, exactly.
Only on breaks. Yes.
But the real reason my order was for this. Do you guys recognize this?
Yep, keyboard adapter.
Yep, this is his keyboard adapter that he makes, and he includes this block here. Whoops, there it goes. Well, it's really coming through white. That you can mount has the screws here, so you can mount the board on top of it to hold it in place there, and he also includes the cords as well. But again, I wanted to use this for because I wanted to make a MAME box, but I wanted to use a real Coco keyboard on it. So cool. That was kind of the direction. Boy, I think I might just get rid of this mat. You guys, what do you think?
Yeah, go toss it back on the grill.
Yeah. Yeah, there. Get it just right, and it focuses pretty good. But
anyway. There's not enough detail.
Get a new camera.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's having to focus too far and takes a while.
There we go.
Right back to the late 1970s. Excellent.
There we go.
Well, what's wrong with the late 70s?
Don't we all feel more comfortable with that look anyway?
Yeah, what's wrong with the late 70s?
That is genuine simulated wood grain right there.
That's right.
I tell you.
Free meal example.
We skimp nothing on this show here, but he has this little plastic miler that's in here, and that's just to give it a little more space. So when you plug the Coco keyboard in there, it just gives a little more backing behind it, so it gets good contact with the edge connector. So yep, been waiting for a while to get one of those. So that was the first thing I wanted to share. And then Don Barber in the Discord, in the hardware channel, was talking about some boards that he was working on, and Exile in Paradise can probably help me out a little bit with this one, with a little more explaining. But Don Barber was working on this bath coprocessor board that he made for the Coco, and he sells this. You have to buy all the components, but he does have some of these. So this would be the AM 9511. You're probably not gonna be able to read that very well though. The chip there that goes in here, but you have to populate the rest of this with the other TTL circuits that are there. Alan, can you help me a little bit with some of the functionality of how this might work?
It's hardware math coprocessor. So basically, the AMD 9511 would be in a Coco, kind of the way that the old 8387 or 8487 math coprocessor would be on a PC. So you just feed it some math you want done, it cranks it and feeds it right back, all done. Floating point and what they call transcendental functions and all kinds of great stuff are handled within the chip in hardware. So Motorola had done a ROM version of a bunch of large math functions, and that works pretty well. But this is like, an even more accelerated, even less spending CPU time on it than that. So you just say what the math you want done, This thing runs off and does it, and then puts you the results on the bus.
And the Coco then can be focused on doing some other stuff, and this could be doing the
Yeah.
So you'd need some software written to take advantage of that.
Correct. You do have to, and there is some. So the fun part is that Don does a complete package. There is a basic extension that swaps out some of the built-in basic functions to use this chip rather than do all the coding.
So that way existing software can take advantage of it.
If it runs in basic.
So you just use the basic functions after loading the connector, and your basic program doesn't have to change. It just gets faster math now.
RTC in there?
No.
No, that's been suggested. Don knows better. He's been around here for a while.
So do we have any problems with like floating point, like when it's doing the floating point stuff? Do we have any compatibility issues, or do all the floating point routines just get completely replaced and updated?
I couldn't answer that. It looks like he hooks a bunch of them, but I'm not sure if it's all of them.
The Apple II had a couple card manufacturers had the exact same processor, and they hooked basic also.
But one of the projects, I think, Alan, weren't you looking at trying to do like some sort of like wireframe 3D type of?
Yeah, that's my primary interest in it, is doing the calculations for the 3D position moves and line draws. But Henry, if you're interested, there is a GitHub for it, and that includes the basic extension and how it works and everything. You can just knock yourself right through there. But I know you're already thinking probably of how you hook this to your project. But anyway.
Yeah. So can we get that GitHub address in here somewhere, do you think?
Yeah, I'll dig it up.
It's actually on the circuit board, but I'm typing it in off of my circuit board.
Okay.
Because I have one of these too.
I don't have that much detail on what I'm seeing, so.
Yeah, you aren't going to type it in off the screen. So go, Mark. Go, Mark.
Yeah, the other thing, isn't those also on some arcade machines? Aren't those usually called like the math box or something?
Something similar to it from AMD is. Yeah, what they used for the math box, at least like in Tempest and stuff, was a bit slice processor. But it's the same idea, yes.
Okay, so yeah, I picked up that, and while I was ordering with him, I did pick up one of his. He also sells this USB. It's a let's see, is this the one that's the wireless? No, I think this is just the USB board that he makes for the that he also makes there, and again, it's out on the GitHub there. The USB to was it the R45? I get all these numbers turned around. 45, but it's one of his serial boards that he makes. The nice thing about this is that oops, sorry about that, Rick. There, did you take your medication there before? We were talking about this before the show too. The shaky cam there. So I won't say what I suggested that maybe to take before the show. But I have some of these cases that I got from somebody. They're just the blanks. Don't even have the end cut out on them yet. But the board fits beautifully in there. Screw holes line up and everything. So I'll have a case to drop it into. I'm just gonna have to notch this end out for this end right here and slam it together.
So what exactly does this particular board do?
I'm gonna lean on Robert again. Robert, do you have a better explanation of this one?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward idea. It's a USB adapter for like connecting to, the Coco to something that needs USB. But the trick that Don put in here is that it sits behind an interface that makes it look like the deluxe serial pack to the Coco side. So all of the deluxe serial software that you have we'll talk through this thing as is, no changes needed. But what comes out of it is a USB rather than, RS-232 stuff.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
covered this before.
Now the part
This
I
one.
wasn't sure about is that it does have an option for an optional ROM. So could you create a program and put that on a ROM and dump it here, and you could have it just auto execute something from right there?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I have done for several people is converted the deluxe RS-232 pack to include HDB DOS for the RS-232 pack. So you could put HDB DOS on it.
Oh, but even more important, we could put the special deluxe R232 pack terminal program on USB. Awesome.
There we go. So yeah, that should work out nice for this. Let's see, what's the next thing that I had on my list here? Okay, so
Brian, real quick,
yes, sir.
because that has a ROM socket on it, you can also put a real-time clock between the ROM and the socket. But anyway,
There you go.
Yeah,
Little
smartwatch.
smartwatch under
Boy.
your deluxe 232 terminal program.
I stepped into that one, didn't I?
Yes.
So Mr. Dave out there, he had been working on a project. I haven't even taken out the cellophane yet, but he had his ROM board here that is a burner. Let's just go ahead and take it out of the package right now. Sorry about the crinkle.
It's like Christmas.
Some people like the crinkle.
Yeah. Chris Crinkle.
What's up,
Mark B, we're getting a request from Carrie in the chat. He says, could you get rid of the border and make the image larger like you did last week, please? Just to make it a bit easier for them.
Okay. How's that?
So Mr. Dave, he had this here. I'm trying to remember what game he said he included. He included a game on the board here in the zip socket, the ROM already. I can't remember which one that he had on here, but he had a few of these available, and I went ahead and picked one up. This ROM burner that he had, along with the ROM in it. So, and he had this included this case and everything. You have to put it together, but so he included that, and then with the package. He also threw in a couple of his various 3D printed cases that he has, and then also a whole handful of different ROM boards. That he's worked on over the years.
So I'm guessing that EEPROM burner there, that actually runs from the Coco, burns from the Coco. You don't need any external.
Correct. Yep. So I'll probably have to put it into either an older Coco or probably a ROM pack or a multi-pack in order to get the voltage.
Oh, it needs 12 volts.
I'm going to guess it probably does. Yep. I need to read up a little bit more. I should have been a little more prepared on this one for showing it, but yeah. Okay. Then let's see here. Well, speaking of multi-packs, again, something new. And I'm probably going to get this one wrong too. But Ed Snider's.
Oh, the Mega Mini.
Yes. Oops. There we go. There we are. The Mega Mini with the
serial ports.
The serial port on the side here. And doesn't it also have the
audio?
Audio. Yep.
Yeah, it's got what is it? The sound chip. It's got a really advanced one. It's like the Sound Blaster.
OPL3 Yamaha YMF 262.
Thank you.
There we go. So yeah, he had a couple of these available, and this is one that I wanted to get this one as well from the products that he makes there. So
it also has programmable interrupt lines, so you can actually tie virtual lines together, so you can get interrupts from any of the slots without having to select it manually, like the Tandy one.
Not only that, but you can start your car with it.
And of course, you can always the dark side version.
Yes, he did. He's been doing this white speckled
marbly look. Yeah,
it's kind of a grainy, sandy look to it. I kind of like it. Didn't show the fingerprints or anything on it, but This is
Yeah, it's got dual 16550 style ports, so they're buffered at I/O serial.
So that's nice. And then lastly, we'll take one step back to retro versus the new retro. I bought this from Henry. A second, I gotta reach.
Oh, you got a correction from Dave in the chat too.
Okay.
He said that's just a bank switch capable ROM reader. You can burn the ROMs on your own burner and then test in the cart without removing the cartridge all the time. So it doesn't actually burn ROMs.
Okay, I misunderstood then. Okay, thank you.
There you can burn it with that instead.
Yes. So this is so Green Mountain made a lot of different boards there. This is their color burner, and he had this available out there. So kind of a different looking beast from the one like the other ones that I've seen. What I think is really kind of cool is this socket. So a lot of them have like a little zip socket, where you flip the lever and it pinches the wires. This one here, I don't know if you can see it or not. These centers kind of rocks up and down. So when you when you put the chip in there, it pushes this down, and then the end pin spread this way, clamping it in this way. So the pins, it closes the gap along this side and along this side, kind of clamping onto it.
A little different zip.
Yep. This one here doesn't run off the voltage of the Coco. It actually, you have to put together.
Yeah, that you needed 36 volts or something. So yeah,
so I'd give you 27.
Wow. So you have to hook up 3 9-volt batteries.
These are in serial. These are in serial to make 27.
Did he give you a free complimentary Radio Shack battery card? Is my question.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
And it also has he also had the software disk.
I mean, that thing could burn some of the old ones.
Yep, it could do some of the old ones there. What I think is kind of interesting is if you notice this socket here with these crisscross wires there. Let me open up the manual, and this will make more sense.
That's probably how you program the different chips.
Correct.
Or set it up to be able to run the different chips.
Let me find the page here.
When dip switches just aren't sufficient.
Right.
And you need a matrix switch.
Let's see here. So now the downside of it is that he only had this one chip in the package though, but it would not be difficult.
Well, just buy more of those little sockets.
Yep.
Or those headers.
Let me back up just a little bit. Oh, I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Sorry, guys. There we go. Focus. Boy, wow, that's bad, isn't it?
It's really having trouble today.
Hello.
So when's that new camera show up?
No.
Yeah, I can't wait till you reveal your new camera.
Yeah.
This segment brought to you in blurry vision. 3D.
One with manual focus would be nice.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of why is this thing I can't figure out why this thing's not focusing.
Might have to take it to the car wash, Brian.
Hold your hand flat in front of it. It can't.
Put your hand up in front of the lens.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, that's better-ish.
I'm going to say unplug it, plug it back in.
Give me 1 second here, guys. Let me do this here.
It has gone.
Can we have
way.
Can we have it more? Can we have it focus less?
Yes, maybe less is more. Right.
Hold on here. Okay.
I thought maybe you put Vaseline on it, to give that nice, soft focus thing there that you used to use in the magazines for models and stuff.
I'm not gonna make a comment. Nope.
There we go. It just needed to be rebooted.
Yep. So there we go. So this thing capable of programming the 2716, the 2732, the 2764, which that one I've seen before, the 27128, and also the 68764, which I've also seen that one. And so you just have to with the crisscross. And I think this one here, the one that came with it is for here, the 27128, I believe. I'm trying to think what wire is different. What it looks
the
like.
one they got it circled.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here because
that's the different wire.
Yep, you're right. Instead of right there, it's right there. it has the one additional going across right there. Then, so let's see here.
It's mentioning it's mentioning in the manual there that you can actually have multiple ones of these and you just plug them as you need for different chips.
Correct. Yep. So you just swap this. You just swap this. You just swap this out right here.
Yeah, make
This
6 of them
pops
and
out right there. So you pop this out and you pop the other whichever one in, and then you can program that chip there. I'm assuming
and he
it
says it's
changes the
cheaper than switch based.
right. And
Well, considering that it would need a matrix switch, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
cool.
I've been kind of into the whole old ROMs thing here with the deluxe has kind of got me it's been kind of fun work with all that.
Never ever seen that zip style socket before. That is
Yeah, I haven't seen that before either.
Yeah, this is different. I thought I looked at that. I was like, "What's that?" And then I realized that this kind of
it's an innie.
Yep. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but should be fun.
And for those who don't know, this is Dennis Bathory Kits we had on the show several years back. That made this
Green Mountain. Yeah, they made several different things. Didn't they make a
lower kit? Was another
lower
popular
kit?
one. Color Quaver software program for doing full voice music.
Yep. So that's all I have to show today, gentlemen. I just some different hardware options there. So
I must say I do like that socket. I've never seen that before either.
yeah, it is kind of cool. I do. I don't know if I dare. Don't want to play with the camera too much there, but yeah, I like the idea of the 9-volt batteries, but I'm trying to think out of a way that I could do this without having to do the 9-volt battery. But
well, 27-volt power supply.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, and
Simple as that.
Well, I mean, I didn't really want to desolder it, so I was trying to figure out a way I could. I was thinking if there's some way, since it is in series, if I could, clip something, make something I could clip onto this here, where I could maybe.
You'll need two clips. You'll need 2 clips to pick up the very first of the ground side and the very end of the hot side, and that's all you need. So you'll need 2 battery clips for your power supply, and then you don't need to rewire anything.
But I'm gonna have but this
and the middle one just doesn't do anything. So
but if it's in series, I may have to put something across one of them to.
No. You just need to clip the ground side of one clip and the hot side of another clip. And the clip in the middle you ignore.
That way you're just injecting into each end.
Yeah, into each end of the series string. And you figure it out if you draw it on a piece of paper. It just takes a second.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, because I was to join those together, that would actually probably short it out and that wouldn't work right then. So okay, I see what you're saying. So
but yeah, it can be done easily and it won't harm anything. So good.
I was also thinking if there's a way, because there's no holes on it, how could I maybe encapsulate that into one of these cases that I have, but
how does that, I guess with the personality module, because you get 27 volts going in there, which is only good for some chips, but then you need 21 volts and others need 12. So
and that all runs through the personality module with all the wires. Some of them
they must have a divider network in there somewhere to cut that 27 down.
Oh, we don't see it on the.
I'm not sure because this looks like.
Oh yeah, we'll have to review the board here.
Yeah.
There's some talk about the battery on the second page you're showing of the manual. I don't know if that mentions anything about that voltage stuff, but it
says the battery. Oh, okay.
Connect 2 batteries. Will leave the third unconnected until the EEPROM has been selected.
You got it, Mark. 2 batteries for some chips, and then the third battery for some chips.
Where are you seeing that?
Well, for the battery clips, they're saying connect to
until you're ready to actually program.
So
yeah, you're right.
Brian, is there a schematic at the back of the book?
Yes, there is.
And Dennis is around too. You guys can ask him on
let's
Facebook.
Let's go look at it.
Questions.
Let's see how he's got the 3 batteries wired up in the schematic in the back of the book. That's all we need to know.
I'm guessing this manual's not on the archive yet.
Not sure.
Well, we go down a rabbit hole.
No, this is cool.
That's what our show is famous for.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Add that to your list of things you need to scan.
Yes.
No drawing of the circuit. We've been shortchanged. Oh yeah, he's got every single piece. It's got to be.
Got the code.
We got the codes. We got the pinouts.
All right.
Let's say I'm almost positive that I saw it. Give me a second here.
It does exist. It has to exist. We've got hours to go. Come on.
Right? Let's see here.
Yeah. Well, there's boards. Okay.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
got pictures of the board. The schematics in there. Oh, the foldouts. It's hidden in the foldouts.
I'm almost positive I saw it.
Yeah, no, a couple pages. There's a couple pages that are too long and they're folded in. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
So now where's the battery connector? What has he done?
Right down here.
Oh yeah, they're just 3 in a row. So yeah, what we were saying. They're just 3 clips in a row. So just catch the
Right.
leftmost of one clip and the rightmost of the right clip.
So is there somewhere that takes that 27 volts? All right, go shift over to the right a little bit.
He just has it goes to a plus 27. So yeah, where's the
Right, but that's going to, okay, there's your divider network right there. It's programmable.
Oh, okay.
It comes off
And
that PIA, and that way it divides down. See, you got the Zeners.
Okay, so yeah.
It's dividing down that 27 volts down to what the chip really needs
Beauty.
on the VPP there.
And that's controlled by those little wires on those little modules?
There's 4 bits on the on that PIA.
Oh, so it's programmably done. It's not through.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not through the
Yeah,
personality
so the
module.
27 volts is here, and it's coming into this network here, and then, like you said, these Zener diodes, and then, like Mark was saying, these 4 outputs turn using the 7406 is turning these different transistors on, going through the divider network right here, and then here it's going into the socket. So here's the 16-pin socket. So here's the VPP coming in. So this is your programming voltage right here.
Yeah, so that way you can select the different voltages depending on the chip.
Right.
It's done in
Under
the
software control, which is pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, you don't want bugs in that software.
You fry a chip pretty quick.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he's saying don't put the batteries in until you're up and running and everything's smooth. Right?
But back to my original question that we talked about, yeah, we could basically put a wire, connect here, put 27 volts in, and then it'll take care of the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah. So some sort of a you could probably get away with a 24 volt power supply, I'm thinking. Because didn't the chips need 21? I don't recall if there's one that actually needed 27, but
okay.
I'm thinking 21 was a popular voltage.
Well, so Peter Willard in the chat mentions that the manual is already on the archive, so that'll save you a bit of time.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, so 25, so you need something that's over 25 then. Yeah, so 27 is good.
Here we go.
But then you could go a little hot, right?
So okay.
Okay.
And I guess Marco had to split.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he had a hard out. So
Yeah, I know. I guess we should maybe should have got him first then. Dang it.
Oh, I didn't know he was out within half an hour. I thought it was an hour, he said.
no, he literally said he had a hard out. So
No, I know, but I thought the hard out was an hour, not half an hour. I must have misunderstood or misheard.
Yep.
All right. Any other project updates? Please.
Looks like Tim Lindner just updated the wiki, I think, on the deluxe. I don't know what he added to it, but
Hopefully maybe next week or the week after we can show a few more things with the deluxe that's been discovered.
yeah, there's some stuff that's kind of a work in progress as we're still figuring out bits. And we still have to figure out what those extra bits on that option control register are that are not documented on Robert Kilkus' little cheat sheet.
All right. Well, we're ready for first break and then the game on.
Sure, if Ken's awake by then. Oh, I heard my name.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCoNation show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello, everyone. It's your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCoNation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCoNation show would like to thank the following patrons: Alex Gayer, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weisler, Karen Askham, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Kevin Holloway, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Rob Binman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., and William A. Thing. Thank you so much, patrons.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Fabio MSX says, I am Fabio from Brazil. I'm interested in the MC68XX and HD63XX world, the Tandy color computer family including the MC10, Dragon, Alice and SBCs, their operating systems, applications, utilities and compilers and their programming. I like to program in BASIC and assembly. Thomas says, hello. I'm Thomas S. from Santa Clara, California, Point Roberts, Washington, Atlanta, Georgia, Marquette, Michigan, Lakeland, Florida. I'm creating a Wi-Fi and network boot card for Coco called CoPiCo. CoPiCo-project.github.io. Eric J. says, hello everyone, I am Eric R., participant at Kansas Fest, VCF East, and Kennett Classic. I have a Coco 1 and Coco 2 with Coco SDC. I recently got Lyra to play MIDI through the Bitbanger port and am enjoying exploring the Coco software archive. I also want to learn some 6809 assembly and more about the machine architecture. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Boysen, Glenside Computer Club, Micro Hobbyist Frederick, Paul Fiscarelli, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
Welcome everybody to the CoCoNation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Desert Rider. We had a total of 22 players. And they were Henry with 12,240, Mark B 14,338, Mr. Dave 6309, 19,870, Damon Beals 20,868, Mark O 21,174, Cederis 22075, Weisler B 23317, Henry the Third 23939, Low Level 24165, L. Curtis Boyle 24278, Jim Rye 24449, Sloopy Malibu 24793, Portacoco 25219, Coconut Bob 28819, Shenley 30057, Canadian Retro Things 32001, Ed Rhodes 41404, Sabhead 43141, Mike 49227, Nerf Herder 56284, Tasman 60538, and this week's number one score goes to Dr. Ted with 71,553. Thanks everybody that played. We'll see you again next week.
And the Coco Nation salutes Dr. Ted. Salute.
Salute.
We're going to have to make him his own bumper because he's just cleaning up on the
Yeah, he needs
games.
a bumper.
He's dethroning Buck
We still haven't
Owens
even done a
there.
Tasman bumper yet.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, gee, get on it, Mark.
And I realized I also forgot to re-record the patrons, adding Frederick Sigard to it. He's on the crawl up on the top there, but I forgot to add him to the.
All right, that's it, Mark. Enough of this. We're docking your pay.
I know. I just kind of forgot to do that.
Yeah, wage freeze now.
Gotta get it divided by zero error.
Okay, so oddly enough, for Desert Rider, I couldn't find any reviews in the magazines for it. Curtis, did you know of any, or?
Oh, I'm trying to think.
So I didn't see anything on your lists there, so.
Yeah, and also with the icepeople.net that did some Coco game reviews online. I can't remember if he did one or not, though. I'll have to check afterwards. Actually, maybe
Anyway.
while you're yammering here, I can check now.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, so there was no reviews, but a pretty decent game. I don't know, does anybody have it? We had quite a good turnout this week, so does anybody have anything that they want to say about the game? Come on, people.
I could get to level 2.
Woohoo! So Mark has seen a level 2. That is a
right.
momentous occasion.
It's a very rare thing.
I enjoyed the game. I had a hard time kind of mastering the jump thing, but I don't know if a lot of people really took advantage of that or not.
I didn't really when I was playing. I mostly just tried to avoid stuff, and if I was anywhere close to hitting it, then I jumped. But I did more of a avoidance rather than trying to jump things.
I find that on the curves, you didn't really have to work at it quite so hard because it would go around the curves on its own a bit. You just kind of had to guide a little bit as opposed to turning hard into the corners.
Yeah. I don't know what else. What else to say? Oh, there we go. Where's that from? Color Computer.
It's from icepeople.net. He did Coco reviews quite a long time ago, and then he ended up moving to Alaska or something for
no
10
internet
years, and he just got back into the Coco recently, so I don't think he's done any updates yet, but a couple of us that have known about him for the last decade or so have kind of suggested you should get back into reviews. There's a lot of new games to try out and stuff too, so he's thinking about it. But he's got reviews, several pages of reviews here of Coco 1 and 2, and I've had even some Coco 3 games too. But yeah, he does have a review of Desert Rider here. I don't know if you want to read it out for the audio listeners or not, but
Okay, this game is a test drive of a couple of. Okay, this is based on a test drive of a couple of games. It appears to be a pole position type of game where you can also jump to avoid the cars, potholes, and other road obstacles. Instead of beating a time, you get a limited number of crashes before the game ends. I suspect a lot of people bought this because it was one of Steve Bjork's games sold through Radio Shack. It's a competent racer, but lags just a bit behind better games such as Speed Racer and Pit Stop 2. The latter was also sold at Radio Shack. Hopefully, most customers opted for it instead. Everything moves along nicely, the simple controls work well, the graphics are pretty good, and the jump element saved my life more than once. Mostly my reservation is the other games I've mentioned have better graphics. Features such as multiple tracks and or pit stops, driver realism, etc. I suspect I'd probably have seen a demo of this running at Radio Shack and taken a pass as a youth, since I already had better stuff waiting at home. Still, those who bought it certainly don't need to feel ashamed or cheated.
Yeah, and he gave it a B- rating. Now, I would disagree with him on one thing here. This does have multiple tracks. I mean, the background doesn't change much. It's the two simple buildings, but
the layout of the track does change.
Yeah, like the later tracks have much more hairpin turns and stuff like that. So you do get different tracks.
Yeah.
So is this picture kind of the artifacted colors that you should be seeing?
Yes, pretty close. Anyway, the lighter orange background looks more yellowish on a real composite than the orange that's shown here. And I think the latest MAME actually, or the recent versions of MAME actually do it fairly well.
Okay.
So it looks much more deserty.
Yeah.
Right.
Think like the yellowish on the title screen of Sands of Egypt or something like that. That type of yellow.
See, in here, I thought with the color set I was thinking that Steve had made this game to be a futuristic wasteland where the only thing that survived were the Tandy Towers.
Somewhere in this desert is all the deluxe cocos buried. That's what I'm thinking. I got to find this desert.
What color are the mountains?
It's kind of a black and red crosshatch dither, so it's
right. Yeah.
Looks a bit brown.
Yeah, kind of brownish.
Brown.
On the Coco 3, of course, you can just do a palette command and change them to whatever the heck you want.
There you go.
Anyway, I'll stop sharing, but thanks for reading the review because my voice is going to be crap for the news. So that's all intelligible people on your part of the show.
So basically, I agree that you should not feel ashamed if this was a game you had when you were younger, because it's a pretty good racer.
Yeah, I mean, if you like what he said in his review there, if you want to go for a strict racer, yeah, there's better ones like Pit Stop 2 and Speed Racer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Grand Prix by Intracolor in that because it kind of, the turns on that are terrible. But on the other hand, combining bump and jump with pole position was just an awesome idea. Like that, I have more fun with this one than I have with either of the other two. The other ones are more serious games. This is just kind of like happy.
Somebody should rewrite Pit Stop 2 where you can actually jump your car over others.
Jump right into the pits.
Was it Steve Bjork who wrote Pit Stop 2?
No.
Right. That was by Epix, but who wrote it? Was it Jesse Taylor? I can't remember now, or if it even tells you, because he did a lot of the Coco ports for Epix, especially in the later years when he did like Mind Roll and Rad Warrior and that kind of stuff.
Definitely an Epix game. I played a lot of Pit Stop and stuff on other systems when I was younger. I never did play it on the Coco, but
yeah, we never got the original Pit Stop on the Coco, but quite frankly, I don't mind it because I've seen it on the C64 and others, and it looks bad, plays worse. Pit Stop 2, if you have two human players, it's a lot of fun.
I always enjoyed the first Pit Stop on the Atari 2600 the most. But that was just me.
I didn't even know that the Atari 2600 had a version of that. I've never tried it.
Yep. We used to have competitions to see who could do the fastest pit stop when I was a kid.
The fun of the two-player game is you keep ramming other people off the road until their tires wear out, and then you can take them right out of the game. That's the fun part.
Actually,
especially if it's your brother. Sorry.
Or you could ram them right into the pit stop lane.
Yeah, you run them off into the pit stop, and even if they didn't need it, they have to come back out. They've lost a few seconds. Yeah.
Yep. Not that
back to the actual game.
Okay. Yeah. So, Desert Rider, pretty good game, but no desserts. Just a desert.
I make a cactus pie or something, I guess. I don't know.
Cactus juice. I don't know what else. Anybody else have anything to say about it other than it's definitely a game worth playing?
It's like on the gentle turns, it's fairly easy. You can see far enough ahead. You can see when the little rocks and stuff are coming. when you're on the hairpin turns, they sometimes show up really quick. And on a hairpin turn 2, you've got to slow down. Otherwise, you're going to go drift way off to the side because you can't take the turn that fast. And there's cactuses waiting on the side of the road to take you out. So, back off on the throttle a bit there.
And like Mark said, on the gentle turns, it almost turns itself. You hardly have to do anything to.
Yeah.
But then it's
so on the hairpin turns, I generally tend to slow it down. That gives me more time to react if a pit or a rock does come up. Then you have time to jump.
Now, do you get more points if you finish the track faster, or?
Do you get a bonus? Yeah, there's a timer. I think that gives you a bonus, doesn't it?
The timer
can't
counts
remember.
up, though. I think it counts up how long it takes you to do the track, doesn't it? I don't know.
There's Brian with it on the wrong color set because he's playing in the water.
This is the Coco.
Yeah,
3.
so the timer counts up. I did remember that correctly.
Yeah, this is on the Coco 3. Going through.
Yeah, just hold down F1 and hit reset, and it should fix.
Anyway,
There you
so and the other game that we played this week was Space Wrek.
Yeah, also the feature game on the Amigos on yesterday.
Yes, it was. And I unfortunately missed that because I still am not used to trying to tune into them Friday in the middle of the afternoon here. So what I'm assuming you watched it, Curtis. What did they have to say about Space Wrek?
They quite liked it. They were surprised too because there's actually some elements when you get into later levels and you get into some of the other ships, like the ones that are cloaked, so you can't see them on your radar screen.
Yeah,
you can see their shots. You can kind of triangulate where they're coming from or where they are by the shots that you can see on the screen. But you have to see them. You have to fly right up next to them and see them on the main 3D thing. There's even a much bigger ship later on that takes a couple of hits and warps in and out all over the place. You only have a couple seconds to try to hit it, and then it disappears and appears somewhere else. That one's really hard. But yeah, they quite liked it. They liked the fact that it ripped off both Star Wars and Star Trek at the same time because it's got the scrolling, in a galaxy far, far away from Star Wars, and immediately switched over to Space Wrek and then plays a little bit of the Star Trek theme. So if you're going to get sued, you might as well get sued by everybody at once, I think is what they
exactly
commented on.
It was back then. It was the Wild West of game making.
Yeah, I think it was a good ploy. You can go, if somebody from the Star Trek franchise comes say, we're going to sue you. No, let's rip off Star Wars, not Star Trek. What are you talking about? And vice versa. So,
what game is it on the STC?
Sorry, what?
Should be under Wrek, isn't it? WREK.
Space Wrek or Wrek? Yeah, one of the two.
I'm pretty sure it's under Wrek on the STC.
Yeah, I just use one of my backed up discs that I have mixed my S games, so I didn't have to go through there.
It's Trek with the W.
Yeah, there you go. And this one, this is one of the ones actually. It was only recently when the Dragon people scanned in the manual that I actually found out all the other keys. I didn't know about all of them. I knew some of them, but I didn't know about the fact you had mines you can drop off. The photons I did know about, and the warp speed I did find out about, but the mines I had no idea. Speaking of getting wrecked,
an insane cat bothering me. It's like,
and this is one I really like playing on double speed on the Coco 3. That's something I told Aaron to, and he actually did try it, though they didn't show any footage of it, fortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I found it easier on the Coco 3 speed. I was wondering if the rest of you had a chance to try it on Coco 3 speed. Did you guys find it easier, or is it just too fast?
Have not done that yet.
I've actually found it easier. My best score, I think, was on Coco 3 speed.
Probably it runs a little slow when you're just trying to get over to follow ships and stuff.
Well, that's one of the things when you fly into the space station, you can get upgrades, and you also get additional things like additional mines and torpedoes. But you can increase your turn speed and your actual warp speed.
Yeah,
and then you get the special warp where you hold down the enter key, and you can really rocket through there. So that's you got to get your power ups first before you get those.
Well, yeah, but right at the beginning, But I mean, I know it's designed that way because you're supposed to get the power ups. But if you're running it on double speed, I'm assuming you'll be able to turn a little quicker and move a little quicker.
Well, the whole game moves faster, so they move faster too. It's not like you'll catch up to them, but
it'll seem like you're doing more though. So
yeah, this is actually, I think, one of the better clones of the Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator because it's based on a color vector graphics arcade game that only came out the year before this did. So he did this pretty quick. But most of the other versions I've seen, like the Atari 8-bit version, they just have these zoomed 2D sprites of space stations and ships. They don't rotate or stuff. Like here, if you actually like some of the ships concentrate on shooting your space station and try to kill it off before you can go get, fixed weapons and stuff. And if you're watching it as it's flying to it, you can actually watch it rotate so it aims at the station, then starts firing. So you add a lot of subtle nuances and stuff here. But some of the extra ships and the extra bonus levels, like the asteroid fields and the that saucer thing that drops mines.
Oh,
like, I don't think that's
the mine dropper.
Yeah, I don't think that's even in the original arcade game. So Aaron and them were mentioning that there's some stuff in here that's new beyond the arcade game, which I thought was pretty cool. Kind of like Draconian did with Bosconian. They added some extra stuff.
I can say that I have not played the arcade game in a few years. So
yeah, about 35 remember. For me, I think is roughly what I remember. We had it briefly at the University Arcade. I'm going to bring that up again. But it disappeared after a while because Gauntlet and a few others like Afterburner came in and became much more popular. So they were.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it at the University Arcade, but and yes, me and Curtis both went to the same university a few years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a very enjoyable game too. So we'll talk more about that next week.
I was just thinking, this wireframe 3D stuff is math. We just saw a math coprocessor that speed things up. I wonder what kind of speed up you'd get out of that.
Right?
You better start hacking it up, Curtis. Get on it.
I'll let Henry do it because then he get in practice for getting his fourth running with it too.
Well, I actually looked at some of those times for that Mathco, and I'm like, if that's faster than what's in the Coco right now, I'm scared. Because some of those things are like 12,000 cycles to complete.
Well, you mean on the math coprocessor it takes 12,000 cycles?
Yeah, so like the power function takes anywhere between 8,290 and 12,032 cycles to complete.
That's a floating point one, I would assume.
Yeah, it's a floating point. Yeah, taking a logarithm, not the natural log, the logarithm is between 4,474 and 7,132 clock cycles.
Now, does that have an independent clock from the Coco, or is that based on the Coco clock?
It's got a clock input, and it looks like it'll run like a 1 megahertz clock or a 2 megahertz clock. So, at least what I've seen, there might be ones that take a higher clock rate.
Okay, I'd have to compare that. Regular basic Microsoft Basic doesn't tell you at all what those different functions take, but the Basic 9 manual does. And it tells you how many CPU cycles it takes for ours and logarithms. So maybe I'll have to look that up here while Ken talks more about the game.
Yeah, okay. About the game.
I don't know what else to say about the game other than it was quite enjoyable, and it's going to have to be talked about more next week when I look up some reviews and stuff for it. So I guess for now, we'll talk about the Game On Challenge live show. So I just have to find that. There we go. So very briefly, we actually had 10 people playing at once. Well, sort of. Nick was just showing videos of his games. But
no, of course, that's self-promoting.
Yeah. So we actually, this was I think this was the best turnout that we've had for the live. I don't know if we've hit 10 people before or not. I was going to ask Sloopy, but he's not here, so. It only lasted for a few seconds though. So, yeah, a lot of fun was had by everybody. We went on for couple hours, I think. I had to leave early, but this cat is going to drive me nuts. He keeps trying to pull my keyboard off the table. Yeah, so Thursday nights, we definitely, this is one of the biggest turnouts for the game that we've had for a while with 22 participants. So hopefully
I did leave a message for Taylor and Amy because they're huge Star Trek fans, and this is a game that they've played the official version on the Atari 8-bits too, I think. So hopefully they'll get some time. Amy did respond and said they'll try to get some time in to do it. They did actually make a Coco video, which will be covering the news, but it wasn't Space Wrek.
Well, they should be here on Thursday night, and then they could join in on the fun.
Unless you want to watch an operating table live while they're streaming. I don't know if you want to do
why
that.
not?
It'd be different.
Yeah. Live gallbladder removal.
Is that
live repair of a joystick thumb? That's what I'd be getting.
Yeah, so Thursday nights,
repair?
5 o'clock Pacific time. So
8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern. In the Discord channel for the Game On Challenge Live. Join in. You can play. You can share your screen to play, or you can just come in and chat with us, or you can hang out in the audience and chat with us. Great. Well, does anybody want to see what?
I'm sorry. Exile in Paradise. Is that gallbladder game on the archive?
Yeah, it's called Microscopic Mission, but you have to get the right sub game to do it.
Yeah, you have to. It's an add-on for the for that. All right, so we are going to be playing Space Wrek for one more week. And I had to go way, way, way back in time to find this game.
It's an original Tandy classic or something? Yes, it is. One of the very first games ever put out on the Coco, one of the launch titles, actually.
Yep. So we are going with an original launch title here. Anybody knows this game?
This one is 44 years old.
Well, some
Was it
sort of a
called
breakout.
Right. Some sort of a breakout.
This game has a ton of different versions of Breakout into it, too. It's got variable ball speed, number of balls. You can have gravity turned on or off. You can play it sideways. You can have two players going head-to-head where they're combating over the same bricks at the same time. There's a ton of options. So I'm interested which ones Ken's going to allow for the scores.
So, anyways, just to quickly show which game it actually is. There's no title screen in the game, so I just took a picture of the cartridge that I have.
He was mandated he cannot go over 4K to write this thing, and he really had to compress it to get all the features in that he had.
Especially since, yeah, like Curtis said, there is a ton of features in this game. You can, but we are going to be playing with gravity turned on, just to make it different from the other versions of
You mean
this that we've
difficult?
played. Very difficult as well, but also it means that those of you that have made paddles for this game aren't going to be at an advantage, because in the gravity one you need 3 dimensions to move, or 2 dimensions to move up and down.
Yeah, if you take the paddle and ram it up towards the ball, you can hit it much faster, or you can pull back while it's coming down to make it.
Pretty much the only way you're going to get it up to the bricks is you have to kind of hit it on an upward motion, because you can. Here, let me just switch back to the other screen. Your paddle can move anywhere in the area below the bricks. So up, down, left, and right. And yeah, so we're going to be playing it with 5 balls. And so if any of you have friends out there that want to play this game with you, try the 2-player cooperative version. Then you can both have a paddle on the screen that you're trying to hit with. So
have Tim and AJ already played this?
I can't remember if they have or not. I don't think Tim or Amy have either. I can't remember. Maybe a perfect one for that, Chad. It's another one for some of the head-to-head games we've been talking about doing at Coco Fest this year.
Yeah, and so you can play with 2 players. You can play cooperative, where you've got the paddles on either side. If you play without gravity on, you can actually play it so that there's one of you is playing a paddle on each side, like an old Pong game.
Yeah, with bricks in the middle.
And you can also play it where there's actually a wall in the middle, and you've both got bricks on either side of the wall that you're trying to destroy first. So there's a ton of options to play, but we're going to be playing gravity on 5 balls.
Now, is there speed too? I can't remember.
No, I don't think so. It's just
played it,
gravity
no.
on or off is the kind of the
Oh,
difficulty.
Brian fired it up. Brian, what options did you have at the beginning?
Well,
oops. We'll just start over here.
Now that screen we've seen a lot of.
I've also got the instruction book right here. So,
ooh, look at that.
Not
He's all prepared.
So you can play 1 to 4 players, and if you choose more than 1 player, you can play separate courts or same courts partners, or separate courts, same court, or alternate as competitors. And then gravity on or off, and then the number of balls.
Okay, no speed setting. Okay. Yeah, Glenn Soggy crammed quite a bit of. This is one when we did the interview with the image producers way back in, what was it, 2016 or something. He'd mentioned that he had the game completely fill the 4K ROM, and Tandy would not let him go past. And then they found a bug, and in order to fix the bug, he had to add code. So they had to go through all of his code again and do every trick in the book to save bytes. You know, if he had something like pull SD, X, and then an RTS, he changed that to a plus DXPC and. Just all kinds of little tricks there. Some of the stuff that Microsoft did in BASIC too, like, skip 2 bytes by doing a compare X that's useless and all kinds of things. But he managed to get it. He actually had, I think, 12 bytes left over by the time he was all done. And he did fix the bug. So
it's actually a very impressive. I had not played this before, even though I have had the cartridge sitting here forever. And I was very impressed with the amount of different ways that you can play the game off of this cartridge.
Yeah, I think that was a direct response to the Atari 2600, because any of you who grew up in the late 70s, early 80s when the Atari 2600 was at its most popular, they had, dozens or even over 100 game variations for some of the stuff, like Space Invaders, I think, had 112.
Yeah, but they
a
didn't
lot of
really differ that much.
Well, some of them were like Space Invaders had invisible invaders, or
yeah, invisible
track shots that move your ship and all kinds of stuff. But
yeah,
this is one of the few home computer ones that tried to go that same route, where you've got so many different option combinations here. You have a lot of diversity in the game.
Yeah,
most he had 1 or 2 players, and that was pretty well he had.
So, like I said, play the way to get your score, but I do recommend, especially if you have friends, to try out some of the
I'm out.
Other ways. Yeah, me too. So I'm trying to teach my cat to play games, but no, she's not listening.
The really humiliating part is if your cat beats you. That's what I'd be worried about.
And everybody's probably going to be a little angry at me after they play the gravity on version for a little while. It's pretty.
That's hard. Yeah. We got a couple comments in the chat over here too. Micro Hobbyist says, "Geez, 4K game. My monitor is 4K," because he just did that for his 639 project. And 60 Karen says, "Wow, playing with that gravity is hard," and he underlined the word "hard."
Yep, it is.
You hit it harder, it comes right back at you faster. That's exactly right.
It's true. Okay. But I wanted to differentiate it from the other versions of this that we've played in the past. So
yeah, most of the other ones are pretty standard stuff.
Yeah. Like I mean, we have some really good versions on the
we even had some other head-to-head versions I've seen. Like I think was it Chromaset or T&D had one that's a head-to-head, but nothing with the sophistication and options as this.
So yeah, that's basically why I chose the hardest way to play this, is just for the to show that it's something completely different, and it's like a launch title that's completely different from other versions that you ever play of this game.
Yeah, this was also a bundle with the TDP 100 systems. I don't know if Terry Steggy's still on the call or not, but there was a time when you bought a 64K TDP 100. This was bundled with the Black Beauty joysticks as $399. You got the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Let me just.
And it's also one of the best-selling ones from Tandy, because I know Glenn said he checked his records back when we interviewed him, and he sold, like, he got commissions on these
300,000 copies.
Yeah.
Sorry, Curtis, you're right. Sorry about that.
Oh, you are there.
I am.
Now you've actually probably got a Super Bustout the TDP 100 version of the cartridge, which is a little bit different label-wise.
I do. I don't have it handy, but all the TDP ones had a blue cardboard case around them, not the silver.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to show it next week or the week after.
Or you could join us on the live challenge there, Terry, and then you could show it on there.
Yeah.
Well, it's a kid-friendly show, and I cuss every time I play these games.
I'm assuming that when people play this version of Bustout,
with the gravity, it'll be a lot of cussing.
There'll be a lot more cussing.
Actually, Curtis, I do have one question for you. Like all of the stuff, it's like Bustout on the cartridge, Bustout on the manual, but in your website, you have it as Super Bustout.
That was kind of Glenn's nickname for it, I think, because it was a much more expanded Bustout than most other Bustouts.
Yeah.
So that's what he kind of called internally.
So don't be fooled by Curtis's site, because under the archive it is just under Bustout.
Yeah,
it's not under Super Bustout.
I think I can't remember if the Radio Shack catalogs which version they did. I'd have to go take a look. At RadioShackCatalogs.com, I believe there's probably a place for somebody to check that if they want.
And if you're looking it up, it's catalog number 263056.
Oh, there's some of the TDP branded boxes and the TDP itself.
I had that one on there, darn it. Anyway, okay, sorry.
And I Karen can maybe can answer in the chat there, but was this one of the ones sold for the Coco by Tandy in the UK? So I don't think I've ever seen a Tandy UK version of it.
And also, Micro Hobbyist is asking if we're going to play the breakout game next Thursday. Yes, you can play either.
And Space Wrek.
You can play either Space Wrek or Bustout or actually any old Coco game you want.
Yeah.
But those are the two games that are featured.
Are you going to be at Attention Hound like Nick and just play games you wrote?
Well, he doesn't even play them. He just plays videos of them.
That way I win. Every time.
But at least he wasn't showing any videos of the game that shall not be named.
That'll be next week.
Or you could be like Sloopy and just play Atari games.
Yes.
Cool. That's a challenging game, especially with the gravity. That's going to be probably a lot more difficult for people who've never played this game before. The difficulty is not obvious until you start playing it and you find out the physics of moving your paddle towards the ball to catch it and how fast that thing can go off. And if you hit it on the edge of the paddle, what kind of angle it can go off at high speed. And it's hard. Don't expect high scores.
I know in other versions of this game that we've played, people that have used paddles have had an advantage. And
not here.
The two-dimensional movement in this one takes away that advantage. You can't use a paddle.
I've only been playing it for a few minutes here on the show, and I'm already frustrated. So,
wow, you got 1,010? Holy cow! How many balls did you play?
5. I followed your recommendations.
Okay,
Or
with gravity.
specifications. With gravity.
Wow, that's a much better score than I did when I was playtesting it last night.
So
But
we
yes,
now
Brian's
understand-
number one. Brian's number one.
Take away one of those zeros, and that would be about how I was doing.
Maybe I should take a picture right now because that might be the best time to
You
do
might
it.
Might be one.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game for 4K, I gotta say.
Well, and the reason for my score here is that I did do the with the gravity where you push up on the paddle, but I happen to have a hole or a gap on the first row of brick, and it's quickly sped up and did the whole top row real quickly. It blew it all out, and that's what.
Oh,
This
okay.
might be the one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what you got to do with that one.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I will say that.
All right.
But to see if our regular game high score winners lately, like the Doctor and Tasman and Buck Owens, if they can get some decent scores out of this sucker with gravity, that's going to be interesting.
We'll see.
Oh, Karen's saying I never had a copy. I don't remember actually even seeing cartridges in Tandy, oddly. Maybe it was too late by the time he was looking. I don't know. They sold cartridges here right through the Coco 3 era, so that's kind of weird. At least in North America and Australia. I'm assuming you had Bustout in Australia, Nick.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. It was good back in the day. I mean, in the early 80s there, I mean, Bustout was a reasonable looking game for the Coco.
Yeah. And like I said, it had a lot of options, which a lot of the home computers did not have in their games. That seemed to be more of a console thing at that time.
It had color.
Yeah. And not fantastic sound, but not bad. It wasn't like, a sound command. It was actually a smoother tone style thing, which we'll be covering on a video for the news here too. Oh, Henry, I did get the list of CPU cycles here for Basic 09. So what were some of the ones you'd mentioned that were pretty high?
Yep. That was let's see, the highest one was the power function, POW. That's X to the Y effectively.
And how many cycles was that?
That was between 8,290 and 12,032.
39,200 in Basic 09 for a 40-bit Cortex style.
Okay, this is a
Let's-
32-bit. This is a 32-bit double, or 32-bit precision thing. But yeah, so that's a pretty significant savings there.
Yeah, it's about 3 times faster, roughly.
All right, so
Three-
that
three
makes
to
a
four.
difference.
Yeah, so it looks like it is faster, so that might be useful.
Yeah, on his I can't remember. Alan, do you remember? Did he have some YouTube videos or was it through his GitHub? He did do some sample programs where he showed one routine. I think he ran through BASIC and then he did it through assembly and then he did it. Then he brought in the coprocessor and it went from like 30 seconds down to 3 seconds to do a particular calculation. I can't remember. He had some examples.
I don't know if Alan's there at the moment. Or he's muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you talking to me?
No, Alan.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think Alan's around at the moment, so. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. It's like if you can get a 3 times speed up on, something as complicated as that. I imagine their transcendental functions like sine and cosine stuff are probably a fair bit faster too. And if you want to do like some 3D graphics or something like that, it might be interesting to see what it can do.
yeah. Maybe you'll have to play with it.
Anything else, Ken, or is that covered?
Nope, that's all I have to say. I am done. I can go to sleep now if the news is about to start.
Well, Mark B.
Yeah, well,
I can either do the upcoming events first and then a break, and then do all the news combined, or do you want to take a break first and then do all 3?
we can take a break. All right, let's see. What did I do last week? Here we go.
Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Rom and Shanghai, and I, like you, am a citizen of the CoCoNation.
This is not the Joey cereal switch. This is the Joey cereal switch. Control up to 3 cereal devices. Order yours today at cocoman.biz.
The music is back.
The Mini Maestro available now, only from Retro Innovations.
Go the number 4 retro.com.
For many a year, peace has reigned throughout the realm. In the forest, nothing but ruins of an ancient fortress remain to fuel the myth of the evil wizard. Tales of your ancestors' quest are met with laughter. Mockery follows your warnings. But you know what awaits.
Are you ready? When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world, to your nation. The CoCoNation News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And of course I hit the wrong stupid button. Okay.
So are we showing or no?
Yeah, we are. Not the keyboard.
Okay.
Just the news screen. Okay, so if you want, I can blow up that keyboard there. So Terry, show us your little friends. See,
Cocos have fur balls.
This is what we hardware guys get to deal with.
Wow. Wow. Just wow.
These are the ones you're cleaning up that are on that video I'll be showing on the news, right? Terry?
So Terry quite literally has a bug in his computer.
Yeah,
I think it's a fur ball.
Yeah, I think it's a bit bigger than a bug.
Little baby fur bunnies.
This is actually after running them through the dishwasher twice. Don't tell my wife. And my ultrasonic cleaner. So yeah,
I think they're too big for those things.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't eat yet.
Well, yeah, because now you have lunch.
Oh, protein.
Sanitize. Cup of bleach.
So I wonder, were they still breathing before you put them in the dishwasher or not?
I don't think so. They look a little mummified. The initial clean out I did, I'm so glad I had the forethought to leave this out in my garage. Now, I will tell you something funny. When these showed up to me, the gentleman that shipped them to me, I wasn't home. My wife got them, and the box said, how was it listed? It was a United States Post Office box labeled cremated remains. So I'm sure the mailman and my wife thought, what has Terry become? So honestly, looking in this thing, they're not that wrong. So.
They didn't lie.
Wow.
But
yes. Micro Hobbyist is asking what was that? He can't see it on his phone.
Well, I don't really know what it was at one time.
Take it out and poke it.
Oh God, Dave.
That's a
It thankfully looks quite dead.
Yeah. Coco has built it up over the years.
Man, a lot. And I haven't opened the other keyboard yet, so I'm almost. It was actually worse than this one. So
don't do a DNA test.
I don't want to. Yeah. Think I'm gonna name this Coco Dahmer.
So these must have been left outside in a barn or something, right?
I honestly think they were in some kind of a garage of some sort, like a because they had a real bad smell of petroleum and like diesel kind of smell. They were pretty good. So anyway, yeah, that's what I was saying. I had the forethought to leave these in my garage because I think we could have had a new pet in the house.
Or 20,000, yeah.
He might have found the remains of a real life grease weasel.
Don't be
Wow.
Oh, I don't even want to touch this. Anyway, it didn't mean to disrupt everybody. Now people are going to lose weight because they can't eat now.
Well, Micro Hobbyist, because he couldn't see it on his phone, but after we described it, his one-word response was yuck.
I've had others, but I can't put those on the show.
Hey, it's lunch.
Yeah, it's something.
It's lunch.
I think those are going to use the pliers.
Look at the stuff you miss if you don't watch the CoCoNation show. That's all I can say.
It's a live show. Anything can and will happen.
Well, I don't know if that one's live. I think it's dead.
It's a dead show there.
It's just pretty good TV.
Yeah. Not holding Ken back. He's eating.
I see that.
I'm sure David wouldn't have a problem either. Mikey in the chat, on the other hand, says, I don't know if I can eat lunch.
I'm so sorry, Mikey.
And Mike Miller is asking if it came out of a chimp cage at a zoo.
Hey, you guys didn't grow up in the Midwest. There's all kinds of things you get to eat here.
That's not even the worst thing I've seen today.
True. I'm not eating that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I threw some leftovers outside last week, and then I found a dead possum.
Oh.
It's like,
You guys have roadkill cafes, don't you?
I don't know. This one was in the backyard.
This might have been the POS for one.
I was going to say, you know, possum, raccoon, squirrel, rabbit. Oh, yum.
All the food groups.
So anyway, what do we got?
Which state was it that was finally making like collecting roadkill without having to use a hunting tag legal?
I don't know.
State of confusion.
I've often wondered if you had to tag a deer you hit with your car.
In many states, the answer to that is surprisingly yes.
Because around here, it does happen pretty frequently.
Yeah, we have that up here actually too, especially at night.
I figured I'd pay license plate tags. That's enough.
Anyway, what do we got for news?
All right, let's go somewhere else, anywhere else.
What would a CoCoNation show would be if it didn't have tangents? Absolutely wild tangents.
A good show.
It'd have sequence instead.
All right, so the first item here, and then I'm going to go through the upcoming shows. This is actually a show that's going to be on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. If any of you are on the TRS-80 Discord, not to be confused with the Coco Discord, you can actually join in on the show there. They'll give you the link and stuff in their show notes. And they're going to be doing a bit of a different episode today. So basically, one thing they used to do in their podcast is that occasionally would just pick a magazine for the TRS-80s and then just kind of run through it. And I know Chronological Gaming does this on occasion too. They just did an Atari magazine recently, and they've covered Rainbow once before too. So what they're planning on doing today is doing a walkthrough of the August 1982 issue of 80 Micro, which is actually the very first 80 Micro I ever bought, and I still have it, though mine's pretty well falling apart into pieces. And that's their arcade game issue. So they had a bunch of arcade games and other types of games for the black and white Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, including a Model 2 version of Battleship for the big hunkin', $7,000 business computer. But they also had some Coco games in there too. That were fairly decent, basic ones. And they also had a couple of interesting interviews in that issue, which I think they'll probably be covering on the show tonight as well. The first one is they interviewed some of the graphic artists and programmers for the movie Tron, because the movie Tron was just getting made at this time. So they actually have some shots and explained how it worked and how they had to download a 1200 baud, a massive graphics file from Japan back to the States, one frame at a time to animate the different parts of Tron, the movie, of course. And the other interesting interview in that one is they interviewed Leo Christopherson. So those of you that are familiar with the TRS-80 Model 1 and 3 will recognize his name right away from doing stuff like Android Nim and Dancing Demon, Voyage of the Valkyrie, a bunch of other games. He was really good at doing animations on the Model 1 and 3. And the interview he has in there goes into some of his history as a kid and stuff too, but it also talks about his working on the color computer for the first time. And this is when he was working on Clendathu. And some of you may remember that tape game that Tandy sold, which also had very good animations of the spiders and stuff, and it's based on the Starship Troopers, Robert Heinlein novel. So it's a very interesting interview too. And plus, they've got, like I said, a ton of other stuff in there too. So I'm kind of interesting to see where they're gonna, what parts are they going to concentrate on as they go through the magazine? Because the magazine's like 400 or 500 pages long. It's huge. So anyway, that's on tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, right, Ken? Am I doing math right? And then in between for anybody's on Central and Mountain, etc.
Sure.
He just woke up.
Anyway, it should be interesting because they haven't done one of these on the live stream, I don't think ever, and they haven't done one on the podcast for a number of years by the sounds of it. So I will have to let's give it a listen and be in the chat for that one.
You said that was today?
Today, yeah, tonight. It'll be in 6.5 hours roughly on YouTube. Okay, so for other upcoming shows, we've got the Interim Computer Festival at Interspace in Seattle, Washington, March 23rd to 24th. And this is the one they're hoping to once again make into an official VCF again, like it was before COVID. So the more attendance they have, the better chance of that happening. After that, we've got the Indie Classic Computer and Gaming Expo, April 13th to 14th in Indianapolis at the Crown Plaza. This is one that is co-hosted by Randy Kindig of the Floppy Days and Antic podcasts, if you listen to those, and we've had him as a guest on our show before too. He's a really cool guy, so I imagine we covered a little bit of it when they did the inaugural show last year, and it sounded like a lot of fun. So, and if you're in the Chicago area, and you go to the Coco Fest, this is not that far off. It's like a 4-hour drive from Chicago. So. And then after that, of course, we've got the one in Chicago, the 32nd annual Last Chicago Coco Fest. And, of course, that's at the Holiday Inn and Suites, same as it was last year. The main room booking is completely sold out, and we've got one extra table already sold. They've got some other alternatives as well as that alternative room to go into. You can join in at thetandylist.com to see those. Now, is Grant still on the call? Because I think
yes, I am. Yeah, I'm here.
You did an update, I believe, posting.
Oh, yeah. Just basically let everybody know that the tables were available and ready to be booked now for the overflow room. And if people want to move from the main ballroom to the overflow room, like if you're not going to be showing anything or selling anything, just want a place to call home, to reach out to me and let me know. And then we will accommodate them and so forth like that. Now, one thing I do want to make sure everybody knows, there will be no extra tables at the day of Coco Fest. So, because we rent the tables, we have to rent tables up and above the ones that we already have used for the hotel. So we're not going to purchase extra tables and maybe not use them. So there will be no extra tables on the day of. So if you want to get a table, please get them now, because you probably will not get one on the day of. So, and the other thing too, don't forget this year is Star Wars themed. So I'm hoping everybody will bring their costumes, decorate their tables and Star Wars theme. So therefore, might be some money involved. So might be worth your time to do it. So
Star Trek all the way. That's what I'm doing.
Star Trek. So that's it for right now. And also, we're still looking for presentations. So if you want to give a presentation, let me know. I've been in contact with a couple of you already. So, and we will get those booked up.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have something. I'm just not sure what it is yet, depending on what I get done on time. So you can probably pencil me and Ken in for something. I just don't know what it is yet.
I'm sure we can find something.
It might be us playing Space Wrek for an hour and just having people watch live.
Yeah, that's true too. So we'll figure it out.
I think you need some cleaners after the show, don't you?
I'm sorry, what?
You need some cleaners, don't you, after the show? Mop-ups?
Oh, yeah, we got Curtis for that. He can clean it for us.
No.
And just let everybody know, I was at the hotel here on a Monday night, so I was.
You were storm chasing in Chicago, weren't you? In the Chicago area?
Yep. I don't know how we got up there, but we ended up in Chicago, and so I stayed at the
hotel. So the hotel's
there.
Still standing after whatever disaster you were following?
Yep, it actually was, and it's in great shape. So things will go well. And auction items too. That's the other thing too. So if you think about bringing auction items, let me know. Therefore, I have an idea of how many auction items are going to be, because
I have a small box of stuff I'm bringing. I can tell you.
Looks like we're going to have another good auction again this year. Yeah. So I'll even add that to the list now. And I know Brian's bringing some stuff, and then we have a person in Chicago. We got to pick up a lot of stuff from there, and then plus John in Ohio picked up some stuff from that lady in Cleveland, I believe it was. I can't remember, but somewhere in Ohio. So it's like we're gonna have a pretty good auction again this year. So make sure you bring your checkbooks and credit cards and PayPal and everything like that.
I have a question for you, Grant, because I had a question from the Amigos here. Because we're trying to encourage Brent and Aaron to come out, because both he's doing a whole bunch of stuff where he's flying in out of the place. He won't be able to make Coco Fest this year himself. Are we still planning on having a group go over to the VCF warehouse to kind of have a tour of the warehouse?
Yes.
And if so, which day are we planning on that?
Let me reach out to Jason on that. Usually we'll do that on either a Friday or Sunday night. So, because Saturday night, everybody's busy doing the music and everything like that. So it'll be either Friday.
Friday night, please, because I have to go back to Massachusetts on Sunday.
How much is it? How much is it worth to you?
Maybe not that much, but
Because
So-
we also need helpers to load all the power strips.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too, because we can also take people over on Friday, because we have to go over and pick up a bunch of stuff from the warehouse as well too. So if you would like
Kill
to
two
join
birds
us
with
on
one
Friday-
stone.
Yep,
I
so
might.
exactly.
I'm trying to remember. I think that I'm planning on arriving in wherever the heck the name of that town is in Chicagoland, on Thursday night. So I might be available Friday morning. I'll have to double check my schedule though.
Yeah, because I know I'll be there on Thursday night, Friday morning. So, what time are you getting there, Brian? I mean, I'm looking at Brian here.
Me?
Yeah, what time are you getting there? Like 1 o'clock?
Yeah, 1 o'clock on Friday, I believe. I've got my itinerary here.
So that means that you'll be at the hotel probably by 7 o'clock by the time you get your rental car and get through traffic.
Yeah, but two or three.
Okay.
So yeah, get in at 1. So usually it's about 2 hours to get the 10 miles to the hotel.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So it sounds like Friday night would probably be the preferred one that would probably work best for people, because I assume some other people are gonna have to go back to work Monday and they won't be able to stay
yeah.
Sunday
So
night.
I mean,
so.
we can definitely take a carload over there. I'll let Jason know that there'll be several people coming over on Friday. But I know we also do it on Sunday too, because we got to take the stuff back, and that's when a lot of people would like to go too. So we can probably accommodate both days.
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah,
gonna-
Friday I can probably get if Brent and Aaron are gonna actually make it. That's probably the day I have the best chance of getting them there to go.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Yeah, let me know. One other thing too. So Salvador's T-shirt got flagged for copyright violation, so he had to make some adjustments on the T-shirt.
That's why I didn't see it there, because I went up to see them a couple days after last week's show, and I only saw Ron's design, so I thought,
Yeah.
well,
So
what
that's
happened?
exactly what happened. So we just resubmitted it. So if you wanted a T-shirt, maybe you want to get it now before they flag it again for another
The
copyright
Empire
strike.
Strikes Back.
So
I'm
it's like-
surprised Ron's didn't get flagged yet.
That's exactly what we were saying too. Because he's got Darth Vader on there. So, so I would say get him now, because who knows what tomorrow's going to bring.
Maybe gone again. Yeah.
Exactly. So basically, he just changed the Death Star from the white color to a black color. So let's see if that gets through. And it's been approved so far. So, and I've already purchased mine of his. So, and I think maybe when they printed it, maybe that's when it got flagged for copyright violation. So who knows? But either way, might want to book that now and get that before they pull them off again.
And the time
Grant?
we're looking.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I was just wondering if you have like a sign-up sheet for that tour, that might be helpful.
Well, it'll probably be
Yeah, which of the
whoever's-
2 days?
Yeah, yeah, probably just whenever we decide to go over there is what we'll probably do. So probably like 3 or 4 o'clock. What time are you gonna get there, Terry?
I don't know. We're gonna drive, but I was hoping to be there, by 3 or so.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, I'll see if I get a sign up sheet and see who all wants to go on Friday.
If I'm driving, it'll be 3. If Bonna's driving, we'll be there about 1.
2:30. June.
You're driving all the way from Wyoming?
We are.
Oh my, that's a long drive.
Pshaw.
Every
Not as long as
Canadian miles. It's yeah.
I think Ken and I might have something to say about that.
Ken are saying, "Hold my root beer."
well, don't forget William. William has a long drive too.
Oh, he's longer than me and Ken. He's got an extra 7 hours on us.
And just to let you guys know too, as of right now, for people who just registered just to attend, it's up more than it was this time last year. So we might have a pretty good crowd this year. A lot of first time.
Well, everyone wants to come and see all the stuff Brian's got, I think, is what everyone.
Yeah, exactly. All that I know is that the Deluxe Coco might end up in the back of my car.
No.
Oh, don't worry. Everybody will have to put up with me.
So Brian's on the very back of the room, right? So everyone has to pass every other table to get to.
Yep.
That's the idea.
Yeah, the gauntlet.
Put the popular stuff in the back and make all the sales in the middle.
That's why the milk and cheese, the milk and eggs are always in the back of the store.
Yep, exactly.
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying, though. I think we are going to have a bigger crowd this year too. So it looks like which is good.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that, that's all I have. So.
And what was the website again for the T-shirts?
Yeah, I was taking a look. I didn't see it here. Oh, wait, maybe here?
I think it's glenside.spreadshop.com or something like that.
Yeah, yep. Might go down a little bit more. It's right there.
Yeah, there. Oh, there it is.
Glenside CCC.
Ah,
Yep,
standing
it's
in
still
somewhere.
there. Yep, still there. You better grab it quick. Go down, see if Ron's is still there. Yep. Okay. Yep, they're both
He's
right
still
there.
up too.
Now you can actually order like cups and mugs and all kinds of stuff too. It doesn't have to be a shirt, right?
Exactly. You can bumper stickers, fanny packs, anything, everything you think of. So
Illegal currency, all kinds of things.
So they really weren't what we thought they were last week.
What do you mean?
Somebody mentioned that they were underwear.
Oh yeah, it wasn't that. It was a fanny pack. I looked. I couldn't believe it was.
Yeah, so you can pick up one of each design if you want to really help out some people in the club, or you can just pick the one that you think is most appropriate or the one you like the best.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I mean that money does go back to the club to help put on Coco Fest, so it does go for a good cause. So
yeah, hopefully it won't have to go to legal bills.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And also too, I always like to say this: the Retro Rewind has sponsored us again this year. I'd like to say thank you to him again. I try to say that as much as possible, so because we appreciate what he does for us. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
thanks for the update, Grant.
Yep, no problem. It's on. We're down to 2 months, just about. I think 2 months. Yeah, 60 days. I think we're
coming up
62
fast.
days. Yep. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Next up on the weekend of June the 14th to 16th, there's 2 shows. So depending on whereabouts in the country you are, one might be preferable over the other. The first one I'm going to list here is Boat Fest, 3rd annual, and that's at the Social Event Space in Hurricane, West Virginia. And that's a general retro gaming expo for a multitude of platforms and even some pinball machines and stuff too. It's got a bigger venue space this time. The floor is not crooked this time, so it's much improved. You get to sample Boat's wife's brand new restaurant she just opened called Thai Fusion if you're into Thailand food. And it's always a fun time. It's a lot of fun. And then the exact same weekend is VCF Southwest, and that is at the Davis Gundy Alumni Center at the University of Texas at Dallas. And this will have some little sub shows at it as well, including a Tandy assembly one, which will be for all the Tandy people, including Coco, Terra City Model 1, 100s, the Pocket Computers, and everybody else. They're going to have a bit of a gathering. Last year, they actually had a full panel at the show, too. I don't think they're doing that this year, but there's definitely going to be a big meetup with a lot of the people. So that's another good one to go to on that same weekend. And then the last one to list for now is Tandy Assembly 2024, which is September 27th, 29th in Springfield, Ohio, at the Courtyard by Marriott Springfield, which I believe is the same hotel they used last year. Still too early to get a lot of seminars and stuff listed because it's over half a year or about half a year away. So, but that'll be coming and getting updated as time goes closer to the actual show event. And that's what we got for those. So let's switch over to, I'll just do Game On News because there wasn't too much Game On News this week. I'll do that first. Find it. There we are. Okay, so starting off, we got some Jim Gary stuff on the MC10. What a surprise. So the first one is he ported a program called Crypto Quote, which is from the Syntax magazine, which is the ZX80 magazine, and their very first launch issue in 1980. And this helps solve substitution ciphers. And basically, it's meant as an aid for helping a person try to break the substitution cipher. So those of you who don't know what that is, that means you're basically substituting other letters for letters in the alphabet. So you might, anything where an A would normally occur in a sentence, you would change it to an F or something like that. And you can do like fixed offsets, or you can just randomly pick them or whatever type here. And basically this program will help you determine them because you can actually just punch in. You punch on the cipher itself, and then you guess what you think the letter should be. And you can instantly see where those will map and see if it starts to make sense as being actual words. So it'll help you actually solve them. So it's not technically a game. I guess it's more of an aid to doing cipher breaking of substitution ciphers. Still an interesting little program, though. Next up after that, he did the Cape Breton song. Now, when I first saw this, I thought it was actually going to play the music. It does not. It does have some graphics in Semi-Graphics 4 that actually look pretty nice. And this is based on Cape Breton, which is where, in Jim's area in the Maritimes. And it does play the lyrics to the song as it goes through, but it doesn't actually play music. but I'll play a little bit of it. You can see that he's got some nice little, sunset style things here in low res. This is kind of reminds me of some of the graphics we've seen Erico Montero do. And shows you some of this power of what you can actually do with really low res graphics with 9 colors, and you can still make some pretty cool looking scenes. And it goes with the lyrics on the bottom there. I'm not familiar with this particular song myself, and this one here, the next one he did was called Escape from Monster Manor. Now, he actually released this twice over this past week. He did one called The Monsters of Monster Manor or something like that. It was a slightly different title, which is a conversion of a fairly modern game by Jim McClellan. Now, Jim did the original one in 2020 for the MC10. So basically, Jim has converted an MC10 game to the MC10. And you may ask, well, why would you do that? Jim's original version requires the extended basic extensions that Darren Atkinson did, plus it requires the 32K RAM or higher for the MCX 128K to run. So it's basically almost like an extended basic Coco style game. What Jim is doing here is backporting it to run on the original semi-graphics and on the original 16K RAM expansion module. That's all you need. You don't need any of the fancy modern stuff. And he did a first version of it, and then Jim got in contact with him and said, yeah, actually, I've done a few updates since that version you're converting. So then Jim quickly got the newer code from the other Jim and rewrote it again with some of the extra features on it that were added in. So I'll play a little bit of this. It's a game where it shows like different rooms and you got to find gold chests and stuff. And he's added a flashlight option. As you go through the playthrough, it's got several different rooms, but you get attacked by monsters, etc. And try to find the treasures, etc. here. Using the keyboard, of course. So he didn't make this one compatible with his little joystick adapter. As it mentions here, it's got 9 treasures you got to find on each level, each screen. And he added the option for fast combat messages, so you can get, without having to wait for the messages to print out, with the original version that he did earlier in the week had. I do like this little graphic here. It's kind of like Bart if he was Frankenstein. And eventually you have to find the key to get out that door, and the door is a little blue line you can see in the lower right here. There you encountered a wretched, whatever that is. And you have the option to fight or run, and then you go through the sequences here. So then you can collect the treasure. I'll just show you a quick little one of the other rooms. Here's the upstairs lofts. The whole walls and stuff changed, and you have to go through, find the other 9 treasures on this one, because each one of these screens has 9 treasures hidden on it. And you can use the flashlight, which will briefly flash where they are, and you have to kind of memorize where they are to go find them all. So it's a nice little, dungeon romp style game for the MC10 that you only need the 16K RAM expansion to play. You don't need anything really fancy. If you do want the really fancy one, Jim McClellan's version is still available as well. That would require at least an SDX, or what do they call their 32K SD card solution one? Is it the SDX or SD something?
MCX32.
MCX32, thank you. And then also it'll work on the MCX 128, which also has extended basic but doesn't have the SD card.
If I could just interject for a second, Ed Snider has 3 of those on his website if somebody's looking to enhance.
Oh, he restocked those? Okay.
Yep. So there's 3 of them on
That's
his
the SD card version, not the 120K, right? That he's got? Okay.
Yep.
Well, they'll be there today anyway.
They used to be there.
Maybe by the end of the show, they might be still there. But yeah, that's a really good upgrade because it lets you get basically virtual disk options. It gives you extended basic and graphics up to P mode 1, I think it is. P mode 0 and 1. And extended basic and just a ton of extra RAM to work with too. So it's a really nice addition to the MC10. And the last one, Animation Plus on YouTube. And he's been doing some of these top platforms of official ports of games. And he decided to do the top 12 platforms of Arkanoid that perfectly translate the original arcade game. Now, your definition of perfect may differ from him. For example, the Coco version doesn't have all the music backgrounds as some of these other ones that had sound chips and stuff do. So ours wouldn't be perfect. But as far as the gameplay and the graphics go, the Coco 3 version of Arkanoid by Steve Bjork is actually really close, and he actually covers a bunch of them, and the Coco one is the second one listed here. So I'll just play a little bit of the previous one, which I think is a BBC Micro. No, Amstrad CPC, just so you guys can see kind of a compare. So this actually has a sound chip, so it's kind of doing the sound. Now it's a bit lower res, you'll notice, than the Coco. It's a little bit blocky, and if you take a look at the Coco version, I mean, there's no background sound is quite as good as the dedicated sound chip. Though the firing sounds really good and explosions. But the graphics look a little bit better to me. Anyway, the premise of the video is he goes through 12 different ports, official ports of Arkanoid, and he plays the first round through to completion. So you can actually compare, how the gameplay is on the exact same level on all 12 platforms. I thought that was kind of cool. That's all I had for a Game On news. It's pretty small this week. But the regular news has a bit more, so we'll switch over there. So before I start playing this, I was going to ask, how many people have seen this video already on the panel?
I have.
Anybody else?
Yep,
Ooh,
I
me
have.
too, me too, me too.
I have. Me.
Me, pick me.
Oh my.
So if one of you wants to describe what this is about, and then I'll give a little bit of background.
They make a Coco Man.
Yeah,
With a bow tie.
Yes.
Now, first of all, is there an official name of the mascot? The one that was in the color basic manuals of the Coco? The little animated with legs and stuff? I don't think there is.
Yeah, he was called TRS-80.
Well, how do you differentiate him from the other ones then?
You don't. You look at the sign. Is it got green on it? That's the color.
So how would you tell a Model 1 and 3? Because they'd both be black and white. Oh, I guess
The
physical case would be different, though. That would be...
Yeah, because one has detached head, that kind of floats in the ether, as well as the Coco does. But the 3 is going to be like all one big block. So the 3 is probably going to be built like a tank, be your like standard musculature type of guy.
Yeah. Anyway, what they decided to do, because they actually go through a bit of the original basic manuals for the Coco, which I will still to this day say is probably the best and best written for beginners Coco basic or basic manual out of all the 8-bit machines, and probably the 16s and 32s too. Now the original author, they did not know who that was because that's not a very well-known thing. But her name was written by a woman, by the way. It was Donna Smith, I believe. I think is her name. Now Boise did find out from other people that worked at Tandy her name, and she's still alive. She's on Facebook now. Boise's mentioned that she's very private and doesn't like having being on guests on shows or doing interviews, that kind of thing. So I've asked some of the people that actually still have a very limited contact with her still if she would be willing to answer even just a couple email questions, because I have questions like, did she design the artwork and the mascot as well, or did she just do the technical part of the manual? Because I have no idea, and nobody else seemed to know either. So hopefully you'll find out at some point here. But they did not know that at the time, so I've kind of let Taylor and Amy know afterwards. But I'll play a little bit of a clip of it here near the end, and you can kind of see what they made. But they made a kind of a modern rendition of the Coco mascot from the manuals. And they actually made it from the Dr. Coco, because depending what chapter you are, the Coco took on different personalities. Like sometimes he wear a bow tie, and other times he's got a stethoscope and stuff. So, and of course they're both doctors, so of course they went for the doctor one. But I'll let them play the little intro here, and then I'll just fast forward so you can kind of see what they ended up making. It's one of those wacky things that they do that are just so much fun.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. How's it going?
It's like giving away the answer.
I'm doing good. Okay. I have a stack of books.
Oh, it's the fun of watching them build it, though. That's,
yeah.
I'm not going to play all that.
And their smell. I have the Odyssey 2 computer intro.
But this is interesting seeing some of the other basic manuals as they appeared.
The practical guide to the Tandy 1000 EX. This is way better than the impractical guide. I have the American Spectrum. I have the Timex Sinclair ZX81. I don't own this computer, but I have the manual. Well, when I run across them, I buy
they could have
them.
picked one up last year.
Yeah.
MC10, Aquarius, Naboo, the Mini Pet Kit, Commodore User's Guide and Programmer's Reference Guide, a dot matrix printer. I'm not sure how that got in there. And then our most recent, yeah. So I love the manuals. But there's one manual, and only one manual. Note this. Yes. What is this? What is that? That is an anthropomorphized color computer. In this case, a 2. Now.
That's before they shrunk it down into the combined both manuals into one.
Okay. He's on the
There's the
cover
Coco 2 shrunk one.
of your color computer too, which I don't have.
Anyway, you can watch the whole going through the manual and kind of going through the various iterations of the character as it appears in the color basic manual, extended basic manuals. But they decided to build one in real life. And I'll fast forward a bit here. This involved a lot of work with pipe cutting and all kinds of things here. And they made a bow tie and little hands and everything else and put the Coco on it. So it's just a lot of fun. It's one you're going to be smiling like crazy by the time you're done the video. That's about all I can say.
Shades of Sabitha. It's the new PVC nightmare.
So they're adding a third person to the Taylor and Amy show?
Yeah, I guess.
The Coco.
I'm not sure if he's ready to operate yet or not, but
Getting there.
You know, too bad we didn't have some of Steve Bjork's Halloween driver boards.
oh
They could
yeah, 'cause they
animate
had
it.
it talking and everything. Yeah, yeah, that's an opportunity lost, unfortunately. Does anybody in the panel have any of his boards? Because he sold them commercially, didn't he?
I have one. And sadly, I haven't gotten around to using it because I had questions for him and, well, I never got a chance to get those answers to my questions because, well, he kind of vanished.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is that him and the other guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, were both kind of the head of the Haunt Hackers, and both of them passed away recently. So there's nobody to answer questions anymore. And I remember, like Alan Huffman had pointed out, and I think I mentioned last week, like his wasn't like a lot of the other ones. A lot of the other ones are based on volume levels to open and close mouths and blink eyes, which means you could play music through it and be sit there, bobbing away its mouth type thing. Whereas Steve did his based on the same algorithms he used for the audio spectrum analyzer cartridge he wrote, where it actually follows the waveforms and stuff to figure out what is speech, what is not, and the matching of the mouth opening and closing on some of these robots that he was using for this kind of stuff, it looks much more natural. It looks like it is
more on
something
frequency than volume.
Yeah. And also the type of waveform and stuff like that. You can recognize a speech waveform versus, say, a music waveform, etc. From what I gathered.
Yeah, okay.
So he did a much more sophisticated version. It was one of the reasons it was popular. Anyway, great fun video. They've been really busy lately. They haven't been able to put out too much content. So I'm really hoping that between me and Ken kind of bugging them, at least they can get a screenshot or something of trying to play Space Wrek, because I know that's one of their favorite games is the Star Trek games on any platform. I don't think they've played that one before, even seen it before. So hopefully they have time to do it. Now you go check it out on their channel, definitely. Next up, we've got, if you're into learning a semi-language, there's a whole plethora of videos that came out this week from a variety of people, including some people on the panel. So we'll be talking about that shortly. But the first one up here is George Jansen, who's continuing his Coco 3 themed semi-language series. He's finished going through sprites and some of the graphic stuff on the Coco 3, including high res and MMU and stuff. And this time he's going through the Coco 3 keyboard. This is reading the keyboard matrix. This includes the extra 4 keys that the Coco 3 has compared to the Coco 1 and 2, also on the Deluxe. And basically how to do stuff like key bounce and, basically trying to read multiple keys at once and how you keep track of them. So if you want to learn how to use the Coco 3 keyboard in a semi-language, this is a perfect video to take a look at. Terra City Retro Programming did an update to his Coco Ultimate. He's got the hit detection working now, where you can actually attack the snakes. I don't know if it's really worth playing too much of it here, but he's got multiple snake enemies. He's going to add more enemies later.
And if I keep striking in this area where the enemy used to be, I'm getting a false hit.
So he's still got a little bit of debugging to do, but he's got it so you can actually attack the snake and hit it in the head and kill it, etc. So even going in both directions and stuff, but gradually progressing. He's finding out this is the first time he's really tried to do an arcade style game. Most of the stuff has been more adventure-y type stuff, which is a bit more simpler to program, honestly. So he's kind of learning the pratfalls of trying to do point detection and stuff like that. If they're slightly lined up wrong, it doesn't think it hit something, even though visually it looks like it should have. Coco Town came out with his one on going on to Assembly Language Sound Part 4. And this is where, if you watched his last one, he was getting some pretty square wavy sounding stuff here. And he got some tips from Simon and Paul Fiscarelli on how to do a proper, what is it, oscillation wave or something? I can't remember what the exact term is, but basically to help smooth out the sound so that it sounds proper. And he's planning on getting some multi-voice stuff. He's hoping to get to it this episode, but he didn't. But he found a rather obscure bug, which I did kind of guess before he announced what it was, because he basically created 3 different waveforms when he switched over to doing a wider waveform. His original waveform, I think, was only 8 bytes. The later one he did is 256 bytes, and then he uses fixed point math. So he's using a 16-bit number, which half is the actual pointer into the table, and the other half is the fraction. And you're adding fractional amounts depending on the frequency of the note you're trying to play. And it'll, kind of automatically shift its way through. So if you have a higher frequency, it'll skip more parts of the waveform because it has to process them faster. And then also the opposite direction doing for the, a lower pitch. But he had a little bit of a bug here on one of his waveform routines. He actually ended up using load A or load B, A, comma X or something like that, which is signed. And he points to the start of a 256 byte table. So as soon as it goes past the halfway point, it jumps backwards 120 bytes into whatever random garbage is in there. So he's getting some pretty bizarre results, and he couldn't figure it out for a while. But now he's got it working. He actually played it through and has some pretty smooth sounding, not kind of like tinny, distorted style stuff. And he promises the next one's actually be covering his multi-voice, because he's shooting for a 3 or 4 voice running. And he's using the H-Sync interrupt in this, which unfortunately on the Coco 1 and 2 and 3 is hooked up to IRQ instead of, the Coco 1 and 2, I should say. It's hooked up to IRQ instead of FIRQ, which would have been a much, much better choice. So this way you have to basically overflow the time of the interrupt, which is 57 CPU cycles at 0.895 megahertz, until you're just past that point. So you might even have to no-op some things if you didn't quite need all the time. Otherwise, you'd be servicing the interrupt, doing your little routine, exiting the interrupt, and then you'd have like 10 cycles left to do anything before you get interrupted again. So basically what you do is you overflow it just past the full interrupt cycle, 57 cycles, then you return from your interrupt. And that gives you like 40 some odd cycles to do other stuff like graphics, AI, reading joysticks, keyboard, etc. The same technique that Nick used actually in Jumpin' Joey and Pipes to get his background sound.
It also brings the IRQ, the IRQ to around 7 kilohertz rather than 14.
Yeah, it basically cuts it in half. That's exactly what he's doing here. And he does nice little charts and a good sense of humor as he's going through it too. But I'll play a little bit of the intro here, and for those of you who have not seen him before, what his approach and styles.
Hello, and welcome to part 4 of the Assembly Language Sound series. When we last left our Assembly Language Sound code, we had a sine wave that sounded like this. Today, we're going to talk about why it sounds like that, and we're going to fix it. There's a lot to cover today, so we won't have time for chords like I thought we would, but they are coming soon. Today, I'm also going to talk about a bug that had me scratching my head for quite a while. It is the mystery of the phantom time-traveling square wave from the future. Ooh.
Anyway, as you can tell, he definitely has a sense of humor when he's doing these. But yeah, he goes through and explains and graphically displays like how the fixed point math is used to jump through the sine wave table data. The higher pitch you get, the more distorted it gets compared to what a nice smooth sine wave sound like, and explains why that is so. Anyway, it's really good stuff. So. And we've actually got the star of this particular one here, Henry himself, the break key on YouTube. And he's working on his coding a whole 4th to be burned onto ROMs for a Coco 1 and 2. And I paused it at this particular spot here because I wanted to show, for those of you who have not followed his YouTube videos here. And right now he's actually working on getting the tokenized, reading the tokens, the actual commands, etc., and also getting some of the math routines done. And I believe you're doing from 2 to 36-bit math.
Yeah, base 2 to base 36. And
Or
that's actually 4th standard.
Okay. But one thing I really liked in yours, and I think you showed this in a previous episode, but I don't think I've showed it on the news here, is your nice cursor you've got going here. It's kind of unique.
I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to look at what this is. 4, 5, 10, 14, 8.
Also, you picked the red dark red background with the bright orange, which actually I find easier on the eyes than the green screen. So, the Deluxe has the option of the blue, but the red's actually pretty nice too. And I did notice like Color Scripts It and a few others, like the original cartridge Scripts It. I think I also use that, and I'm not sure why more people do not. That is a little bit easier.
I find it to be easier on the eyes, because I mean Blaze Orange is always easier than Nuclear Green, and B, it's distinct enough that you know you're not in color basic.
Yeah. Actually, that's what Tandy was doing with the Deluxe too, because they were gonna have basic boot green screen like it always did, but OS9 was gonna boot straight into the blue screen as an option. So now you do your cross development in LWSM, I believe.
No, actually I'm using Kieran's ASM 6809.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And like Forth has got several versions, based on the spec, depending on what year the spec was released. Are you shooting for a particular level of Forth?
I'm not sure what level I'm going for. The one that I found that seems to have at least the bit depth, the bit width that I'm looking at is Ardu Forth. So it's going to be a little bit more minimalistic. We're looking at a 16-bit word as compared to having a 32 or 64-bit word, but of course the implementation is going to be as modern as possible without overstepping how much I can actually do with the memory considerations.
And for those of you that are not familiar with Forth, like Forth was, I think the only home computer I can remember that came with Forth standard, I think was the Jupiter Ace, which almost nobody ever bought. But basically it's Polish notation style, which I'll let you explain to people what exactly that is. But it was also supposed to be very fast because you're basically compiling your own commands as you go. You're kind of building. If you want to explain kind of what Forth is to people that don't know.
Yep, every single piece of software that you write in the Forth environment, when you create what's called a new word, you're actually compiling that word. And if you're referencing other words, all you're doing is you're doing jump to subroutines. So everything is put together in Forth as machine language. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm writing assembler in Forth. No, you're using machine language routines that have already been written at the lower level and just calling them directly, much like you do with BASIC, but instead of like having to do a whole bunch, instead of having to go through the interpreter every time, those calls are compiled in automatically.
Yeah, so you're kind of like live compiling as you're creating new tokens, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty of using something that's reverse Polish notation, as it were, is there's no associativity, which means you don't have to worry about what gets added first, the first plus or the second plus. You tell it when to do it. If you want to do 1, 2 plus 3 plus, add 1 and 2 and then add 3, or if you want to do 1, 2, 3 plus plus, where you add 2 and 3 and then add 1, it's doing calculations stack based. I've seen so many engineers online who have been like, once I went RPN, I never went back. And having grown up with RPN, when I was introduced to a Forth environment, I'm like, this comes together so quickly. And it really does, because the only thing that would possibly be faster to really like grok and implement is going, in my opinion, is going to be a functional language like Lisp once you start getting into it. It's that initial learning curve that gets you.
Okay. Now, you're designing this with the Coco 1 and 2, obviously, and you want this as a replacement ROM. So are you planning on trying to fit it into an 8K ROM to give yourself more space for the programs, or are you going to do a 16K ROM, like the equivalent of Extended Basic, or even cartridge ROMs up to 24 or 32 or something?
The way that the Coco is put together, I might as well just go ahead and use 16K if I need to, because if you've got it in the standard memory mapping form without going to all RAM mode, you've only got 32K of RAM that you can play with to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no sense in not using the full 16K of ROM. And then the other thing that I was thinking about doing and moving forward with this is, instead of accessing the rest of the RAM with going into all RAM mode, figuring out a way to page over so that I can swap out instead of like, okay, we're using 32K banks and just bank that out, because the SAM's already built to do that.
Yeah. And you can bank the ROM you can make the 32K RAM, the two different 32Ks on the bottom of the map, for example, leave the ROMs in the whole time, which is what the Deluxe does for its RAM drive. Or you can just, swap the whole thing in as one 64K RAM space.
Yep, exactly.
I kind of wanted you to explain that because I noticed there were some comments on your video, like on Facebook, and some people was asking, like, what does that have to do with the Coco? Obviously, I didn't watch it because there's a Coco screen sitting right here. But I also don't think they're familiar with Forth because there's been multiple Forth interpreters for the Coco before. We had one by Hoyt Stearns Electronics in our computer club that we bought in '82. It had a semi-graphics 12 editor, so you could actually have a little underline character under each character as you moved your editor, so you could still see the character under it rather than a cursor that blocks it right out. So it was kind of nice. But I never really wrapped my head around it. A friend of mine, Dwayne, actually got further into it. He actually wrote some stuff on it, and he quite liked it at the time.
Let's see. Dave Lord in the comments is saying Fig Forth was on a Coco.
Yeah,
But,
there's even a
yeah,
version of Forth in OS 9 too that I can't remember if I'm putting on this version of EOU that's coming up or the one after it, because I'm kind of dividing it into chunks here, because otherwise I'd be just sitting here doing stuff forever and you guys would never see anything.
It's a fun language to play with. Unfortunately, not much has been done with it in the mainstream. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, how can I make this an effective and a fast programming language where you can actually write games in it? I've never been a game programmer, but if I can get effective and fast games written in it, that will be very, very helpful.
Yeah, I think the main thing that most of the Forths on the Coco, most of them only did semi-graphics or text or stuff like that. And you basically, if you wanted to do graphics or sound routines, you had to write them from yourself. And you'd have to have some machine language skill to do that as well. So if you're going to do that, some people just said, oh, screw it, I'm just going straight to machine language. I have to do half of it in it anyway. If you have a good set of tokens already made for doing graphics and sound specifically, I think that might be the tipping point where people will give it a good try.
I might have to work on a tiling system.
Yeah, something like that. Like literally that would, I think, get a lot of people interested in it, because then they don't have to write all those low-level routines.
Yeah.
You can do like sprite masking and that kind of stuff, tiles, as you mentioned, background sound with an interrupt or something like that. I think that would, if you can get that kind of stuff working, I think a lot of people would give it a shot.
That would
Even
be,
if the math part looks weird if you're not used to the reverse post notation, which would be me.
Since I've been using this thing for as long as I can remember. I mean, literally as long as I can remember.
So I know this one took you longer than you were expecting. It's been a fair bit of time since your previous video. Was that just due to like real life interfering, or was this you were trying to sort out how you're doing things and just took longer to make the video? Or
it was a combination of real life and the fact that was easily 3 or 4 videos that I wrapped into one, and I'm realizing that now, that I've got to make my chunks smaller if I'm going to release on a reasonable scale.
Okay. Hey, one thing that's really cool is that we've got so many semi-language tutorial things that you're showing people how to write a fourth language interpreter and screen editor and everything else that goes with it. And we've got George doing the machine language Coco 3 stuff, and we've got Coco Town doing machine language Coco 1 2 stuff specifically for writing games. And some of the stuff that you got covered. So this has been like one of the best times for getting tutorials done. It's like having Rainbow with like 3 different sets of articles. William Barton's writing this one, and Charlie Forsyth's writing this one, and all the different people with the different approaches type thing. So it's really cool that we're getting all this regular content. And then we've got some people doing basic programming like Jersey Retro Programming too, and Alan Huffman's doing basic series right now on another game that he's porting back to the Coco 1 from a Coco 3 game and stuff. So it's a great time to learn. So anybody out there in the listening land or listens to this, show, way after its release date and wants to get into, programming either from basic or from the sim language, or, I'm assuming you'll be teaching some Forth later on as your Forth interpreter gets done. It's really cool to have all the stuff happening now, and people can just follow, subscribe to each of these channels, and you can actually pick them up as soon as they come out and learn. And then you guys can all write all kinds of stuff. Doesn't have to be just games. Next, this was supposed to be for Mark Oberholzer. Unfortunately, had to leave, but basically we had our virtual Coco Fest last weekend that started after the regular show for the most part. And there was, I think, 1 presentation on Saturday and I think 4 on Sunday. I didn't catch all of them live, unfortunately, because I was kind of busy, but you can see a few of them here. So we got Thomas Shanks on the CoPico project. Rick Euland and Henry Strickland did CocoIO and related projects. And I actually missed the beginning. I still haven't had a chance to go back yet. So Rick, since you're here, you can at least talk about this particular ones. What did you guys cover on this particular?
Well, basically, where do you start? Everything. So I've done a couple of things on, Henry's done 3 different things, I guess. He's got the boot from a boot ROM system. Then he's got the OS9 utilities so that you have things like dig and NTP and TFTP for OS9. And then he's done just some side experiments with, you can download videos and stream videos onto the Coco and stuff like that. So there's sort of 3 product categories there, and we just kind of rambled on around between them. So it's hard to summarize it short of the entire time that we spent talking about it, to tell you the truth.
So the hardware at this point is pretty stable and seems to be working. Now it's the software drive, or is there still some hardware bits to work out?
We have now fixed the hardware problems, and it works everywhere all the time. And we've added a boot ROM to it, which also works. So it could be used for your own private storage, with details to follow.
The one cool thing I found was you guys actually booted Nitrous 9 ease of use over the net from a different city.
When he says boot from ROM, he doesn't mean boot from ROM from a PC that's carefully tending it. This is go out on the Ethernet and boot from New York City or wherever the heck. So, there is a security issue here. You might want to make sure.
Also, it's a little bit slow at this point, but you guys haven't optimized for speed yet. It was just to get it working.
A little bit slow in that it's like floppy speed. So, yeah.
But the fact you actually booted up a Coco with your card and then booted Nitrous 9 from a server in New York while you're in Wisconsin, and it ran totally off of the network. There's no drives hooked up or nothing. That was cool.
Right, and you do procs, and it takes a second because it's got to download procs from New York.
Yeah, and then then actually display the process list from New York.
From Wisconsin. So yeah, it worked surprisingly well, and he's working on turning this into less than a demo. So for instance, you could run OS9 hosted on a server in New York City or wherever, and you don't have any local storage at all.
Yeah, it could just be a little ROM card with the terminal
still
program.
Kind of running at floppy drive speed, and you're editing and saving files that are remote. And all you need is the Coco, the CoCoIO, and a cable to your
local network.
Which
you're going to do it wirelessly at that point.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. It requires an external dongle to be wireless, and everyone wants to be Wi-Fi now. And
yeah. Now, how much do you know about Thomas Shank's Co-Pico project? I know Henry's been helping him with that one too. Have you been privy to any of that stuff? I didn't really know too much about that one.
The little bit I know is he's going to sort of combine the software that goes with CoCoIO with just sort of shove it all into a Coco, into a Raspberry Pi, and let it do the heavy lifting. So you'll have kind of the best of both worlds there, in that you can have the wireless features that a local Pi can bring you, and still get the playing with the Ethernet on OS9 that I'm delivering. So
okay. Now there's also the other 3 that happened. Thomas Cherryholmes came in to talk about FujiNet, and he did some demos. That one I only caught the tail end of that one too. And of course, FujiNet's cross-platform. That's one of its big advantages, and it can also pull programs and run them from across the network too. But it's I think one of the main goals right now, and Mark Ober's could have spoke to this better than I can, but it's basically they're trying to get it running on a variety of platforms, from the Coleco Atom to the Apple II to the Atari 8-bits, and they can eventually set it up in such a way that you can have common packet formats between different machines to do head-to-head games where you're playing the Coco version of a racing game against the Apple version, and you're playing over the network. Not just local network, but you can probably do it over the the wide network like you guys did booting Nitrous 9. You can actually play head to head against people with other computers, all on retro hardware, which is kind of cool too. And then Paul Fiscarelli did one on disk imaging with a grease weasel. I caught parts of that one too. David Ladd, if you're still on the call, I think you were in the chat for that, and you probably know more about the grease weasel than anything else. Do you know what Paul was specifically talking about on that, or is David still here? I should probably have asked that first.
If he's not here,
He gave a little history about the different versions of the grease weasel, going back to some of the earlier versions.
Like the cat weasel?
Yep, some of the cat weasel and some of the different hardware that was used up to the grease weasel. And then he explained the functionality of the grease weasel. But then he spent the latter part of the show showing his project that he's working on that's more Coco specific, that makes it a little bit easier to use the grease weasel just to read Coco disks. That's a project that he's working on. He's not finished with it yet, but it gives it more of a GUI type of interface to the grease weasel when you're trying to read disks.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Because that like I did mention the chat when I did end up joining, but the grease weasel that David Ladd had at Coco Fest actually helped me recover some original source code by the original author of the ice hockey game on the Coco back from '83, and the disc was in pretty rough shape. And I was actually surprised, but he got it completely off, and it's now in the archive, and you can download it because we got permission to release it. So, and then the last one that's listed here, Julian Brown, working on the Dragon 32, and he's one of the two that's been doing Dragon Repro motherboards. John Whitworth is the other one. Karen is the other one, and one's doing the Dragon 64, one's doing the Dragon 32. Julian's doing the Dragon 32, Kieran's doing the Dragon 64. These are basically kind of like what Pedro's been doing with the Coco motherboard duplication, so we can actually recreate the motherboards from scratch. So you don't have to find a Coco on eBay for $400 or something ridiculous. You can actually just get the board, and as long as you get the chips, you can put them in. I don't know what his talk was about. I only caught snippets of it. I actually had it streaming, but then I got busy doing other things. I didn't get a chance to actually watch it while it was streaming, so I missed a good chunk. Did anybody here catch that one and knows exactly what it was all talked about? Or is Julian in the chat? Sometimes he is. Brian, did you catch that one or no?
Yeah, I did catch pieces of it. He was talking about his boards, and then he was also talking about his NTSC and PAL boards that he's trying to iron out some wrinkles that he has with those, and just I don't remember exactly all what was talked about. I do remember him talking about that part of his project.
Okay, yeah, I remember. I've seen on his Facebook posts in the Dragon group about the PAL and NTSC, because he's making those little daughter board, separate boards you can just add into the main motherboard that he's got created. You don't have to like integrate it in. You just pick which one you want to display on, and away you go.
And he also spent some time talking about the fact that with his design that he has a lot of free real estate on the board. So with the idea that other projects could be developed, instead of having it as a separate daughter board, it could be literally integrated right into this board.
Yeah, I remember he was mentioning about integrating the AY chip, kind of like the Deluxe did, or maybe even two of them to do stereo.
Yeah.
Amongst other things. Anyway, if you go to the CoCoNation page on YouTube and you go into the latest videos, you'll see those here. Now, you have to go into the live tab for most of these. They haven't been moved over to the regular video section yet because they were streamed live, so they appear in the live, and I really wish YouTube would let you mix those two, but they don't. But if you want to actually catch up and catch up on all what you missed on those, each presentation was roughly an hour, some are a little bit under, some are a little bit over. But they're all very interesting. And there's definitely a theme of networking. That was just about everybody was talking about networking and all their different things. I think just the Grease Weasel and the Dragon 32 reproduction are the only 2 out of the 5 that did not concentrate more on the networking side of things. So networking is definitely coming along big time in a variety of formats and a variety of form factors with a variety of people. And Henry Strickland seems to be involved in almost all of them.
Yeah, right.
Well, and the one question I never got a definitive answer is when can I browse eBay on my Coco for Coco stuff? That's what I want to know.
Well, coming soon, shall we say? We're working on the mechanism for doing that.
Yeah. So you go check out the CoCoNation on YouTube. Were these simultaneously broadcast on Twitch and stuff too? I don't even know.
I believe they were. I think they went out to our whole.
They went through the whole Twitch, Facebook, and
but now
YouTube.
You go here.
Yeah. Hey, go check those out. There's definitely some really cool stuff going on in the Coco world and the world of hardware and the world of software in case of Paul Fiscarelli. That we already covered, so skip that. Okay, next up we've got in the Multimedia 1 computer, the MM1, which some people are in the Coco in the 90s will remember this. This was one of the acclaimed Coco 4s, and probably the most popular of them, to be honest. So in this case here, Joel Evie, who's actually been working with this, and I was hoping David would be here to talk about this as well. He done some previous posts here on the Blue SCSI SD card readers, and he's replaced his original SCSI drive, which was dying on him. And he managed to copy everything off on the SD, and it's, you know, basically ties into the SD, the SCSI controller, so it still works with the MM1 as if nothing's changed. But he's found out since he did the original one that these are hot swappable, although he doesn't recommend you try to read or write to the SD card while it's not in there. But that means if you are testing something, let's say you cross-compiled something or LWASM, something that you want to run on an M1, maybe LWASM doesn't do 68,000, but something like that, you can actually just pull the SD card out while the M1's still on, copy the changes onto the SD card, put it back in, and just continue on as if nothing happened, rather than have to power the whole machine down and reboot it with the new image type thing like I'm doing on my Coco SDC. So that's kind of cool. I don't want to risk that on mine because I want to corrupt all my disk images in case that doesn't work on the Coco one. But I was not aware the Blue SCSI had that. I guess some people that have Blue SCSIs on some of the other platforms that it supports, like the Mac and stuff, have actually known this for a while and use that to their advantage, especially when doing test code and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And but he did try it and it does work. It's hot swappable, so that's cool.
Nice.
Next up, David Collins in the Motorola 6809, 609, 6800 Assembly Language Programming Group on Facebook has an update on his. And if Frederick, I don't know if he's still in the chat, I think he was pretty busy today. But it's kind of, he's one of the two people doing a homebrew 609 system design. Now, what he's done here is rather interesting. So and I'll just kind of quote what he's put in his post here in the group on Facebook. He said the 609 code can load code to the CPU at boot up. This is fantastic news. It basically means the system can boot itself from RAM only. So it's a whole range of possibilities, not the least of which is significantly more OS support due to the expanded area that can be used as RAM. Things are looking really awesome right now. And then he added a bit more detail a little bit later. It says, self-staging is achieved. I managed to squeeze a small relocatable loader, 46 bytes, into the small space of memory that the AVR has access to, which is roughly 48 bytes, not counting the complete reset vectors block. Now, I'm not familiar with the AVR. Is that a controller chip or something? I'm not sure what that is. Anybody here on the panel know what that is?
No, but it's cool that he took that little bit of RAM. Because, I mean, you get to it, a 6809 is always RAM only. You've mapped ROM into RAM space. You've mapped IO into
because
RAM.
most 689 or 690 machines require a ROM boot to at least start doing something, whether it's
Where
basic
do you
or.
get that? Well, the question is, where do you get that little bit of code to start with, and you never had that before? And the fact
Well, that's
that
where
you
this
can take-
AVR, like it seems to be a chip that has a little bit of RAM on it, but not enough that normally would be considered useful. 48 bytes.
Right, but just 46 bytes, and yeah, you start.
But the way he actually gets it to load is kind of interesting. It's not like it just copies it into RAM. It kind of does later on, but the way he actually presents it to get it started. And I'll just read his little details here for those who are not on the video. AVR resets and halts CPU shortly after power on, which tri-states the bus. Step 2, AVR tests to see if the RAM or ROM is slotted over the reset vector. And if it was ROM, it would just run normally like normal ROMs do. 3, AVR loads the loader code to the top of memory and lets the CPU free run. The 609 runs a small program and copies itself to the fixed bank. It then modifies itself to load down code from the AVR as a peripheral. And step 5, the data from the AVR, be it from internal EEPROM or SD card, is loaded to the top of memory, and when it is completely copied, the system resets, booting the stage code. No latches or anything. The CPU stages itself without the need to feed it opcodes or a single step on the clock. And then he's got links to his GitHub and stuff that you can get to here. So it sounds like it's kind of doing this little mini loader thing off of this IO chip or whatever the AVR chip is without an actual ROM bootstrap of any sort, and kind of just starts copying little bits over and kind of creates its own boot as it goes.
And then creates its quote ROM unquote, and then resets and boots from the quote ROM unquote, which is actually RAM that it had just copied.
Yeah, so basically it doesn't even need a ROM boot. It's just this tiny little snippet of code that kind of
Makes its own,
grabs the rest. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting technique. I was going to talk about Frederick about this because he's probably much more familiar with this kind of thing, and he's doing his own 609 homebrew computer too. So next up, for those of you who want retro multimedia, Michael Pitsley's done a lot of these videos before. He's covered a lot of the multimedia educational software that was put out by Tandy back in the day. The last batch he did recently was actually working with stuff from Dorset Educational Systems, which actually did cross-platform releases of multimedia educational stuff too back in the day. So these are from the 1982 to 1984 time frame. But he put out a bunch more here this last week based on some of the other ones that Dorset released. And there's a couple two-parters he's basically got going here, and then some later ones too. So he's got a two-part algebra course, a two-part reading comprehension course, a two-part spelling course, and then two more parts, which is parts 9 and 10 of the United States history course. Now, these are basically low or high-res graphics running with some machine language programs to display stuff pretty fast. I think some of it's basic too. And then it's the cassettes that for these are actually a mixture of code with audio. So you'd load in a program which loads in some graphics to demonstrate stuff and animate whatever you want to show. And then it would do the motor on audio on and then actually have the spoken voice of the teacher or professor or whatever, whoever did the recording, explaining what you're seeing while it's doing the animations and stuff so that you're actually getting like a literal multimedia experience off cassette in 1982 to 1983. And they're pretty cool, I have to say. I probably should, because I think the last time we covered this, we didn't really play anything. So maybe I'll grab one. Spelling's going to be kind of boring, I think. Algebra's probably the same thing. So I'll do some United States history. Let's start the Reconstruction area. I'll just play a little bit. You can kind of get an idea. So here it's preloaded some of the graphics and, a nice big bold font.
When the Civil War was over, the federal government had to reconstruct or rebuild the southern states in the Union. After their defeat, the southern states felt that they should be treated as states. But Congress, now controlled by radical Republicans, contended that they had lost their political rights and should be treated as territories which must be readmitted to the Union.
I'm not going to do the whole history lesson here, but you can kind of see how it's integrating graphical presentations and text on the screen to kind of, reinforce in your brain what you're listening to. But then you also get the audio. And there's a lot of they've done some younger kid stuff that has, more sound effects and stuff rather than straight text and stuff. But, proper multimedia with CD-ROM stuff didn't come for another decade or so after this. But this was the way of doing it back in the day with cassette based. And if you did the timing right, I mean, the timings between different tape recorders was a little bit different. Sometimes it got thrown a little bit off, but they usually put enough gaps around. Would usually work if you had a CTR 51 versus a CCR 82 or even some third-party cassette recorder. It usually wasn't too far off. So these actually work quite well. I did fiddle around with a few of them in the store back in the day. They had like reading programs for stuff like Hound of the Baskervilles and Sherlock Holmes. They had Discovery of Pluto, which is one of Ron's favorites. With Clyde Tombaugh himself actually doing the audio for that too. So there was a fascinating bit of history and kind of was a precursor to the whole CD-ROM educational multimedia and the whole creation of multimedia itself. So really cool seeing the early history of that. But anyway, there's a ton of videos there if you want to check some of that stuff out, see what it was like. It's awesome. It's hard to get these on the archive because we don't really have a format that has a cassette image with mixed audio that is supposed to play through the speaker, as well as, the actual data files for the different chunks of the code. It's got to load as it's going along. I don't know if that's something anybody's working on, or maybe there's one that I'm unaware of that actually interlaces those two well enough to actually present these so that you can actually try them in real time in an emulator. But it'd be really cool if somebody did. Next up, this is a channel I'd not seen before called the Hayden Walt Bradley channel, and he just does reviews of collections of things. And this particular one, he's kind of focused on like what a school kid might have done. So it's basically, he's got like a pencil sharpener, electric pencil sharpener they happen to pick up. And he's got a book called Personal Computers, What They Are and How to Use Them by Ron G. Wells, which is a fairly old one. He's got a manual for the TI 35 Plus calculator. And then he's got the Getting Started with Extended Color Basic, the Coco 2 manual and the Coco 2 itself. And he actually plugs it in, turns it on. Now he doesn't have a screen that's capable of playing it yet, but he did hear the relay click, so I left him a comment. I said, if you want to test to see if it's actually working, like functioning, without having a screen, just type motor on. If it clicks again, then basic's working, RAM's working, then it's pretty well assured that it's actually functioning. Then he just has to find a compatible TV or monitor. Next up, is Terry Steggy still here? Or is he busy cleaning furry creatures?
Sorry.
So I'm going to mute the sound here. I don't know if that's a copyrighted song or not. It might be free reign, but I'd rather have you talk over it anyway. But this is the original video of the two Cocos, including the one you're working on live right now that we showed earlier with critter traces in it.
Yeah. It's
But we didn't see yours until you'd already had it apart. You had already had the case and stuff cleaned up. So I want to play the video here while you're talking about this project and how it came about and what your ultimate goal is, so you can see what the Cocos look like that you received in their original state before you got started.
Sure. So this showed up from a gentleman I'd been talking to on a auction site. They were in really, really rough shape. I'm not sure where in the heck they were really used. He didn't know too much of the history of them, but I've since this video took them completely apart, stripped them down, degreased them. They had a smell of, like I said, diesel and all kinds of stuff. They looks like they might have been slid around a little bit on something. I don't know what they did to them, but anyway, they're coming along. Let's see here.
Now the one case looks much more damaged than the other one. Just looks like scratches and scuffs and yellowing and dirt. And the other one actually is cracked in multiple spots, isn't it?
It's cracked, and I actually have it here.
They go through a fire?
No, I think they ran the CNC machine at the shop or something.
That or some
15
kind of
years.
grinder was next to them, but yeah, they're
I'll stop sharing so you can kind of show, because you said you have the one case or something you wanted to show.
there we go. I am not sure if
Want to zoom them up, Mark?
come through, but
yeah, hang on.
Okay, there we go.
you're in the right place here. So yeah, it's got a pretty bad crack here. And
There's
then
chunks missing too on the top and the grill.
Yeah, someone at the shop dropped an engine part on that one. That's why they had to get
Yeah,
the other one.
I do have this piece. I will try to JB weld and get that ground and right. But yeah, what I thought on this one was weird. I don't know if that's gonna, let me see if I can turn it here.
Well,
JB,
crack
well, you're
certainly
gonna need
comes
some
through.
Bondo on that one.
You see this, it's all warped. It's like it got really hot. That's all
Well,
melted.
no, that's when the engine part sat on it, it's kind of curved the side out.
Right.
Well, I noticed the bottom of the other one also looked a little warped.
Let's see. It actually is not too bad. There are a couple cracks in it, but I think that could have just been from the video, how I had done it. But the bottom of the other one too was broken. I have since got all the keys off. They're clean. There's some of those. I don't know if that's probably going to come in, but they got like burn marks, like maybe metal. I think Rick might be right. Maybe welding slag has gotten on them. But let me switch over. I have since got.
They've had a hard life.
They have had a hard life.
Yeah.
I've got the both motherboards. Actually, they look pretty good now, other than there's, of course, some rust on the anything that's metal. I'm not sure if I'm going to take those off and try to sandblast them and paint them. I'm not sure how important that would be, but all the traces actually, now that I can see them, look pretty good actually for the age and the abuse they went through. And let's see what else.
Sweet.
The keyboards now, when I play with the keys in the bezels, actually move up and down. They don't stick.
Nice.
They're not getting stuck on fur anymore, is what you're saying.
Right.
A couple of
Do have a little bit of a burn on that. I'm not. That actually looks like cigarette, to be honest. But
Now it's ready for Rick's upgrade.
Yeah.
all right, when your milers don't work, we'll fix you.
I was actually surprised. The see if I can get those over here.
Yeah, this should be good.
Mylars actually aren't horrible. They were filthy, of course, but
Not all browned and burnt.
Yeah, they. I'm gonna probably use some. I don't know, Rick, Windex. I was thinking maybe to clean some of that off on the inside after.
Nothing. Water or nothing. Don't get any kind of detergent or anything else inside there.
Okay, that's fair. So anyway, those both look pretty good.
again, have not put power to this thing or tested them or anything. So
That should all fly. Yeah.
I have been trying to video it as I do it, but we'll.
I know what's going on. It's been
When,
kept
when
in
you're
a
not gagging
constant-
about some of the stuff you found in it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Get my tetanus shot.
It all lived because it's been at a constant temperature, very, very hot.
Right. So anyway, that's kind of my project. I'm working on getting back into doing some of these things.
Now, for the case that's actually cracked and missing chunks, David Lord's mentioning the 8-bit guy had a method to replace ABS chunks on one of his restorations that actually looked very good. I don't think I've seen that particular episode, but do you have any plans for the one that actually has missing pieces of plastic versus just cracked?
Yeah, I've actually got some modeling plastic I was going to play with. I thought about maybe trying to make something with my 3D printer, but this case is pretty trashed. I think I'm gonna, like I said, Frankenstein it, and this might be the
Maybe there's something available at the next Coco Fest.
I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do that, but it might be. We'll see. The one I would like to get done, and I was going to give that away at Coco Fest, the clean one, just because I have plenty of cocoa too. So, but I saw these poor things and said, no, someone's got to take care of them. So,
nice.
Anyway, that's what I'm working on. Thanks, Curtis.
Okay. So we'll follow your progress.
I'll get some more videos posted. I've been really, really lax at doing videos. So hopefully here soon I'll get that back on track.
Okay.
And no, that was not Weisler's warehouse. Forgot to turn the graphic off.
Oh.
Stagey storage?
Didn't even notice.
No, I went out on the stream, but not on Zoom.
After today, it might have been Terry's Terrible Creatures. I don't know.
Terry's Terrible Lunch.
Terrible tarantula.
There you go. That might have been it.
Okay, so next up is a rather short video by a YouTube channel called Suburban Relics, which I'm guessing means he's just collecting, old stuff. And he's got a Coco 1 here, and it's an older style one because it has the RAM badge still on it, and it's actually got an HDL 57 keyboard on it, and he's got the Tandy diagnostic cartridge on it. And he doesn't have any commentary or anything. I'm not going to play it because he finds out that the diagnostic card has options to hit keys to play notes, and he had too much fun with that, and he's not musically inclined. But I will play a little bit at the beginning here because he's kind of just testing to make sure the machine works. And that's not too often I see one of the old style Coco 1s with an HDL, but there's the diagnostic card, the original 1980 version of it.
Oh yeah, I remember that sound.
But remember, this thing only registered up to 16K too, right? Like if you had more than 16K, it had no idea.
Yeah, it was just a Coco 1.
Goes through the graphics and stuff. Anyway, it seems to be fully functional. So, and I know Retro Rewind now sells an updated version of the diagnostic card that actually knows about 64K of RAM, knows about Coco 3s, knows about 8 meg upgrades in Coco 3s, etc. So you can actually get that, and you can actually test all your Cocos and do RAM tests, etc. with that too.
I got to get me one of those.
Ken, do you have any spares left still, or did you sell those?
I have none left, but I'm pretty sure that there's
There'll be
this
a
event
Coco
coming
Fest.
up, Coco Fest, that
they might have some
Frank
there.
will be at. I think he might have a few of them there.
Yeah, and if you can't make Coco Fest, you can order them online at retrorewind.ca.
Yep.
Yeah, but the shipping's cheaper at Coco Fest.
Yeah.
Well, in some ways.
But you can't use a discount code at Coco Fest.
Well, that's okay.
Do they ship UPS?
Thank God. Did you see Exile in Paradise's comment in the chat? Said this week on Them's Good Eatin', what has Terry found in his computer now? I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit with that one. But Okay, next up we got Alan Huffman. He's got part 5 of Let's Write Lights Out in Basic. Now, this is based on a game that's a common one, I guess, of Cracker Barrels. It's one of the games on the table. And the original Coco 3 port of this was done by Rick Adams, and Alan is currently working on backporting it to a Coco 1 and 2 in low-res graphics, and he's on part 5 now, and he's still got a couple parts left to go. This one kind of just goes through different changes to code, and he's trying to make it so it'll have variable sizes that you can play, different size playboards. Getting the scoring and stuff working here. So it's kind of a running blog on getting this converted back to run in semi-graphics from the original Coco 3 high-res graphics. So, and you can see a little tiny screenshot there of the Coco 3 version that Rick did, which looks actually quite similar to his Cocodle, which is the Wordle clone that he did, and I ported the Nitrous 9, a slightly older version of it. Then for the MC10, we've got a couple. Mark Dusko has said, after spending some time looking into the video circuitry of his MC10, I found a way to modify my NTSC MC10 for composite audio and video. But now, obviously, Ed Snider, on rare occasions, will have these available on his site, and some other people have done as well. There's also the Coco VGA option from Brendan. He said, I thought I'd share what I did, even though I'm a little reluctant because the results of this could vary depending on the output device. I tried it on 2 different analog TVs, and it looks great. On 3 different LCD TVs, the results were definitely usable, but one definitely was better than the other 2. And I think we've all encountered that hooking up LCDs. You know, some that are a bit. I mean, the Coco and the MC10s probably isn't the perfect composite signal to begin with. And some of the LCDs, are pretty far off. They're more meant for modern, HDMI style type stuff. But he does put some pictures up, and this actually does look pretty nice and clean here, honestly. The colors look right too. Obviously, it's a little bit of, because he's taking an angle, it's going to be a little bit off, but it's basically getting the 8 standard colors pretty well correct. There's the mods he did to the RF can to do it. And he's fully willing to give out the specs here if somebody wants to just make this themselves instead of, trying to buy a ready done converter board. And if you want to ask any questions, if you go in the MC10 group on Facebook, he's fully willing to answer them. He's actually answered several people's questions on it already. And the last 2 we've got for today or this week are on the Dragons. The first one is from a YouTube channel with a rather strange name called Mostly Horses and Retro Computing, or MHARC for short. That's a rather odd combination, but unique. And basically, he picked up a Dragon 32 recently with some software and stuff that came with it, and he did kind of like the first look opening the box video and kind of figure where he's going with it. So I'll play a little bit, and you can kind of see a little bit of what he got here. But if you want to go through the full thing, and if you're an expert on Dragon stuff, he has some questions on Dragon stuff, so you can answer his questions in the comments or maybe give him some tips as he goes.
Is a Dragon 32, so looks like it's slightly yellow. You can't really see from the camera.
It's in pretty good shape. That's pretty white. That's not too yellowed yet.
About that, I think there's
this is the lighting.
Bright stuff which is being talked about. So I'll have to come back to that. Let's just have a look to see what we've got. It's actually lighter.
This is definitely in much better shape than Terry's Coco's, I'll say. Oh, by the way, Frank from Retro Rewind says in the chat, he says, we charge more for shipping at Coco Fest.
Those snap-on case things are really cool.
Yellow.
It'll cost you a couple glasses of beer afterwards, at least.
So we've got some other bits. So the introduction to basic programming.
Off and sort of just a tad here. So he's got the manual for the actual Dragon itself. He got some books with it too. Dragon 32 Book of Games. The Dragon joysticks, which are kind of like our Black Beauties, except they actually have a kind of a holding handle because they're quite long.
Doing the sockets.
I think it got some software too, if I remember. Yeah, graphic animator. He's got Learn, so he's got some educational software. He's got the official Frogger. Cornsoft.
Microdell used to do a lot of Dragon 32 stuff.
Dragon Selection 2, which I think was a compilation of basic games and stuff. So he got a fair bit of stuff with it too. So he's got some books, some manuals, some actual software. So it'll be interesting to see what he thinks of it when he gets going through it. And then the last one is a bit of a strange one. So there's a YouTube channel called JSW Central. And the last couple of videos he's done this past week have basically been games that were originally written on the original Spectrum, the ZX Spectrum, that were ported to the Dragon 32. And then were ported, because the Dragon 32 ones had some improvements, like some of the games, like, I can't remember if they both did, but I think Manic Miner for sure has extra levels the original Spectrum version did not. So they were back ported from the Dragon versions back to the Spectrum 128. So basically, a Spectrum game got converted to the Dragon, and then the Dragon version got enhanced, and then the Dragon version got converted back to the Spectrum 128, which enhanced it more, because the 128, of course, had sound chips and stuff with it too. So he did a couple of videos here showing the reports of reports type thing. So it's kind of a convoluted way to go through. But I'll play a little bit of one of them. I'll play the Dramatic Miner just a little bit, kind of see. And the Spectrum load screen, which has that kind of data in the background border. Now, this to me sounds like it's a bit off key. I don't know if the person that converted this knows much about music, because it sounds off. Especially the chords in the background. I think the Coco version, or the Dragon version, sounds better, to be honest.
The Spectrum version, I think, is off key anyway.
Oh, is it? This is one thing that the Dragon version has too, where it actually tries to play the theme music in the background while the game's running too, though it's warbly. It's not trying to use an IRQ to time it properly. I think they just kind of inserted it in between, moving sprites and stuff around, so it's a little bit warbly. But I just find it interesting that, the original version of the game, when it was first created, was on a Spectrum. They converted it to a Dragon, which, had, better sound than the original Spectrum did, because the original Spectrum was 1-bit sound only, kind of like the Apple II. And then this Dragon, of course, it's 6-bit sound. And then they added a few extra levels to it just for fun. And then it got converted back to the Spectrum 128 with, an AY chip or whatever the sound chip it had in it. So not too often you hear of a game getting ported to one platform, then ported back with improvements that where the second platform had. So I thought that was kind of odd. But they've got both Manic Miner and Jet Set Willie if you want to check out those two videos. And that's it for the news this week. And we've lost half the panel already. I bored people a lot this week.
Wow. A new high.
Okay. Are we done now?
Yeah, we're pretty well done. I just want to remind people that if you guys want to catch the Tier City Trash Talk live at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube on their channel, they'll be covering 80 Micro magazine from August 1982, which actually had a fair number. I think it even advertised on the cover over 25 color computer programs. So it was one of the ones before they split and did Hot Coco. But because it was the arcade game issue, it was fairly Coco-centric compared to most of theirs. And also it has two really good interviews. The interviews of the guys doing the graphics for Tron, the movie, and an interview with Leo Christopherson talking about his animation games on the Tier City Model 1 and 3, and hints about his Clendathu game that was coming up for the Coco.
The Coco tidbits made everyone hungry and left. David Lord in the chat. All right, let's go ahead and run the outro.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song copyright 2022 D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the Coco Discord server. Coco forever.
Okay, so with that, what do you got coming up next week? Next week's the 9th.
Another show.
Remember to spread this out. We need to add the 5 minutes for a contractual 3 hours.
3 hours
we
minimum.
gotta-
Minimum
we
3
gotta
hours.
keep
huh?
going.
Well, we can just borrow some time from the other shows.
I guess first of all, we've got the, of course, coming on Thursday. Join our Discord. Join in on the playing of Desert Rider for the second week. No, sorry, Space Wrek for the second week, and Bustout / Super Bustout. Definitely need analog joysticks for Bustout. Don't even try that with the digitals. Only stick.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's
So
say
yeah, I
goodbye.
guess- Later,
All right.
folks. I'm good to go.
See you all
fix
next week.
this.
Oh,
But my
what are you showing there,
bonus
Patrick?
Import from Visual Basic into the Coco. They all come in like this, and then you have to work your way through various stupid and sundry errors. So I have things to do now.
Got a bit of work there, huh?
Well, no, there's not much work. It's just when you're writing, like substring should have, comma and the string. Stupid stuff like that. But whenever I import stuff into the Coco, because I can do no checking in Visual Basic, the first time I get to check any letter is once it's in a Coco. So here it is in the Coco, and it's all broken. And
That's one
maybe
nice thing
in an
about
hour-
Basic 09, because if you import code in that you load, it'll tell you every error as it's being found. So it syntax
Oh, it
checks
did
even
it.
when you're typing it in live.
Trust me, it did it. But you only get it all at once at the end when you've imported from it. Now, of course, if I'm on my Coco, shoot, if I have that, yeah, let me pull that up real quick. Give me.
You're pretty quiet there, Rick. I don't know if you can get closer to the mic.
Oh, okay, I guess I've got error checking turned on. So if I go to, here we are in Visual Basic, and it looks really nice, but it hasn't checked against Basic 09 to see if it's okay with Basic 09. So, you actually put it on the Coco and you get this. Yeah, you left out this, you left it, but it's all at once. So you'll get, what's missing here is the 452 illegal control structure statements that should come under this because it's accidentally, missed the end if because of some syntactic. But anyway, I didn't mean to go wandering off here, but this is what I'm going to be doing to get up my next couple hours, and then we'll get up to our normal session time of 5 or 6, right? And I'll blame it on Coco Talk.
Okay. All right, we'll try this again. Bye, everybody.
See you all next week.
Bye.
Or on Thursday for the Game On Challenge.
3, 2,